A very good evening, everybody. Nice to have you company wherever you're tuning in, all around Australia or indeed the world. On the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club, across Facebook, Twitch and YouTube. Welcome to the Virginia International Raceway in Alton, Virginia, for the opening instalment of Spreyton Side of Thursday Night Motorsport for this, the 7th week of Term 2 in 2024. Our last hit out for the month of May. And what a way to kick things off. 3 races from Spreyton Side of Formula V to kick us going, or get us going, kick us off, I should say. Then on to the latest round of the Super Formula Lights for the wings and slicks, and that will be horrendously fun and enjoyable for those of you tuning in at home, ladies and gentlemen, because it's from Watkins, Glen, minus the bus stop. Horsepower heaven tonight, if ever there was any. Now, Sean McQuillan's taken provisional pole here at the moment by a sizable margin, 0.04 of a second over Nick Wood. Then Chris Noble, John Merritt, Fred Kahn. Championship coming into this round. Great to see Hot Lap Merritt back in the saddle, I must say. But it's Adam Lavis on top of the championship at the moment. 418 plays. Glen Cedar Riddell, 406. 9 points back to Sam Chapman. And then a little bit of breathing space, a little bit of a bumper back to Tony Baker, Ryan Tate, Kevin Henderson, Phil King, Brendan Nealon, Joe Baldwin, while Greg Heaney makes up the top 10. I think it's a pretty well foregone conclusion that this race, or this championship, it has only got 5 or 6 contenders left in it, given the amount of points on the line. It's between Lavis, it's between Cito and probably Sam Chapman, but watch for Tony Baker to be a wild card in this, because Chapo has a tendency to run into some sort of trouble. He needs to keep it clean if he's going to maintain that sort of run at the moment there in 3rd place. Let's remind you of where we are tonight at the Virginia International Raceway, because we're not on the full circuit tonight. We're on the one of the short chutes, the North Circuit, 3.62 kilometres here. And so you lose a little bit of the back section of the circuit, and that therefore eliminates that long drag opportunity down the back straight. 3.62 kilometres, 39 degrees track temp, 21 ambient. We're at 11:25 Eastern in the morning there. 21 kilometre an hour winds as well, 85% humidity, clear conditions. Of course, Formula V not yet introduced to the weather treatment, and it probably doesn't need it. It's exciting enough without it. Sean McQuillan on the front row alongside Nick Wood, Chris Noble and John Merritt the second row. Fred Kahn and Glen Cedar from row number 3. Sam Chapman, Kevin Henderson, Ryan Tate and Adam Lavis make up the first 5 rows of the grid. We'll come back to that qualifying time in just a moment of that 1:41, because that gives us a fair indication that we're looking at 6 and 9 laps for the respective heats tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Row 6 is, of course, Lane Thoburn and Tony Baker. Row 7, Aaron Russell and Pavindra Letta. Then Jacob Vickery, Brendan Nealon, Phil King, Colin Bennett, Jonathan Hooper and Brett Bradbury take us back to 20th, the outside of the 10th row of the grid there. Aiton Schultz from row 11 alongside Greg Heaney, Robert Colbrook, Jackson Ray Harner, Chris Stark, Pete Matson, Sam Stride, Tim Watson and Daniel Sneddon make up the field at 28. Waiting for Ray Harner and Stark to come into position here, and also John Merritt as well. Ready to fire. Merritt's in position, still waiting for Ray Harner and Stark. Should definitely see Starkey on the grid. I'd love to see Jackson Ray Harner. Maybe he's off to practice in the Super Formula Light around the Glen. Let's get ready to rock and roll nonetheless. I'm Zach Cabin, Daniel Correa-Sars here alongside me. You'll hear from him throughout the course of the evening. You'll hear from him in just a moment, actually, as soon as I need to take a breath here after the start of this race, which is coming up any tick of the clock. It looks like we're going to go without Ray Harner and Stark. It's a field of 26 to take us to green. Round 7, race 1, Spreyton side of Formula V, Thursday night motorsport on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. Let's go to work. Chris Noble, a blinder of a start there on the inside. Pips Nick Wood on the run to turn one. Glen Riddell's also made a good jump. Got by Fred Kahn, and John Merritt to the inside of Wood. Cito almost running himself into trouble there around the outside. Drops a spot as Kahn goes back to fifth and Chapman up his inside. Clean start. Look at Noble forcing the issue on McQuillan. Hung him out to dry and took Merritt with him. Look at that. Sean McQuillan, the pole sitter, back to third. Completely and utterly swapped in the early stages. And this may not necessarily be the slipstream paradise of the full configuration of the circuit, Daniel Correa, but still a great little track for these cars.
Nah, exactly right, Zach. This particular configuration where they actually cut the circuit in half, you can see they're turning right here instead of going down towards the famous tree here at Virginia International. This particular layout actually provides a little bit more aggressive style of racing. Obviously we weren't broadcasting during the practice session here, but these guys were absolutely neck and neck flying around the circuit, so fully expect to see no holds barred racing here tonight. And of course we get enticed by three separate races here for the Formula Vs, but for now Chris Noble's doing an excellent job out the front, but John Merritt is right on the back of him. He is not letting that go, and we know how powerful the draft is in these cars, and this straight is exactly where it's going to get showcased.
Right here and now, and this will be a particularly important part of the racetrack as Merritt goes to the outside on Noble, pips him by the post. Merritt leads at the line at the end of lap 1 of 6. So the reason why we've got 6 laps on our mind here, ladies and gentlemen, that's our target, because the clock is set to 10 minutes. And at 1:41 during the qualifying session for Sean McQuillan, you're only going to get 6 of those in 10 minutes. In fact, you're going to go maybe 10 seconds past that 10-minute marker. As time elapses, the checkered flag will fly next time by the strike. So you add another 3 to that because you've got 5 minutes extra added to races 2 and 3. So it's 6 and 9 tonight. The mathematics of that fairly easily. 2 9-lappers and a 6-lapper to kick us off. Full invert for the second race, which will throw the cat amongst the pigeons. And then the results of race 2, the top 10 of that will be inverted for the grid for race 3. Have a look at Nick Wood all over. Chris Noble like a cheap suit there. Sean McQuillan and Glen Riddell. Riddell makes McQuillan pay for opening the door and inviting him through on the inside. Riddell to 4th. Have a look at Nick Wood. This is set up just nicely for him to go with 2 of the best in the business in Formula V. Wood's no slouch. He's a very good, versatile performer, but more often than not, we don't see him fighting, as he quite rightly should be, for these higher-up positions. He's got an opportunity to change that tonight. Round onto the main straight. He's there, ready to have a crack at Noble. Run onto the main straight, so critical at this circuit. And Noble will have a crack on Merritt, but at the same time, he'll need to try and defend Nick Wood here as well. Up the outside goes Noble. Wood's happy to sit in behind Merritt. The run to turn 1. Noble's opened up the door. It's just wide enough for Wood to have a look and make a decision whether he decides to make it 3 wide or not. No, he runs out of time to do so, and he opens up the door to Cito in the process. McQuillan wants to have a look at that as well. All happening here at Virginia International on the 3rd lap of proceedings. Spreyton Cider Formula V Thursday night motorsport. Can you believe we're already at the end of May and we're already at the end of week 7, ladies and gentlemen? Noble's gone to the front, has Merritt covered. Cito's in there as well. Good evening to Kevin O'Neill tuning in. Good evening to everybody else joining us along for the ride Thursday night motorsport. Of course, we'll update you on the AFL and also the NRL throughout the course of the evening. Matilda's in action tomorrow night as well. So a lot of great big-time sport coming up. But our focus is right here and now at Virginia. Noble back to the front, down on the inside. Up through the right-hander. Ride that ripple strip. Abuse it, in fact, if you're Glen Cito. Merritt's right there. He's got his teammate for company and support, if nothing else. Daniel Correa, a real opportunity for the pole shooting boys to gang up on Noble here.
Yeah, definitely. You would expect them to maybe have some teamwork in order to bully Chris Noble a little bit, which is something that we saw from the 1-9 boys yesterday, actually, for the GT4 Challenge at Spa-Francorchamps, and ended up with Jordan Malcolm actually holding on with a bit of a fuel save to win that race. But if Merritt can make his way in front of Chris Noble, and then Riddell sneak up right alongside or just behind him, or in fact maybe let's just go 3 wide. We'll see if they can fight all the way to the turn 1, because the other thing too is I have talked with these guys before, and although they do share a team, they tend to fight each other harder than maybe some of the other drivers.
As rightly they should.
Yes.
It's so clean at the moment.
It is. I will agree. It is very clean racing. Well,
2 battle packs of 4 fighting for track positions. 1 and 5. In fact, have a look at Fred Khan latching onto the back of Nick Wood here. Let's make it an 8-way fight at the front of the field. Back to Hendo in 9th as well, latching onto the back. So a 9-way fight at the front. And then you go back to Ryan Tate, Adam Lavis, and Pavindra Leder is there in that battle with Adam Lavis. Brendan Nealon and Phil King as well. Lane Thoburn rather back there in 15th place. Jonathan Hooper's already in trouble early. Jacob Vickery as well. They're down a lap. Aaron Russell, Colin Bennett and Aidan Schultz all on pit road at the moment on the tow road. We've missed that incident. We'll try and come back to it if we get a chance. But how can you take your eyes off this, ladies and gentlemen? Nick Wood sitting there in 4th at the moment. Cito right there in 3rd. Noble, the meat and the sandwich of the Pulse Tuning boys at the moment. But Merritt, the old experienced hand at Formula V, in the words of Lara Bing, but where the bloody hell has he been this season? We've hardly seen him on a Thursday night. It's a welcome return, and at the moment he's picking up exactly where he left off. Noble up on his outside. They're going to come to the line and have 2 laps to go. Noble goes to the front. Look at the toe. Nick Wood's coming out as well. Cito 3 wide. 3 wide in the fight for second. Noble wants to lead from the front and hang tough around the outside of Merritt. No, he's gone 2 wide, 2 wide. Did well to keep it off the grass. Trouble there blooming. Nick Wood. Nick Wood loses out big time in all that. Fred Khan the beneficiary. A little bit of wheel banging there. Fred Khan goes to 4th. Noble slots into 3rd. It's a Pulse 1-2 with a lap and 3/4 to go.
That was really unfortunate there for Nick Wood, because he saw that Noble was coming back quite aggressively to the right, and Fred Khan was trying to shoot up on the inside, so he actually took the sacrifice and pulled out in order to avoid an incident. And so yeah, he's now dropped down to P7, and with only a handful of laps to go, he's going to need quite the run in order to get back to the front. Having said that, though, the draft will work in his favour. We know how strong it is when you're at the back. The question is, how desperate will some of these guys at the front be coming up to turn 1 in order to make an overtake? Could we see some carnage yet before the end of this race, or will it be a clean affair from start to finish?
All right, I get the feeling we're in for a last lap thriller here, ladies and gentlemen. White flag goes up in the air next time by. Top 6 still in contention. Wood, unfortunately, boxed out of it there in 7th. He'll be the next car in shot. We ride on board with Noble. White flag flies in Virginia. Race 1 of round 7. Race 19 of the campaign. Cito edges in front of Merritt. Noble to the outside. Let's make it 3 wide. Like we're on the oval at Talladega in the NASCARs, if you don't mind. Fred Khan and Sean McQuillan in there as well. And Tony Baker. Contact. Baker got into the side of Khan. McQuillan the beneficiary and all that. Goes up on the inside. Gets by Khan. Gets by Baker. Wants Riddell as well and gets him. Riddell's back there on the inside to go 3rd. Into the right hand and the left hander, I should say. And muscles McQuillan out of it. McQuillan now boxed out of it completely because Baker comes down on these inside. Very nicely done from Baker to slot back into 4th. Pulse Tuning 2, 3, 4 at the moment. And the Alpha Racing team with Chris Noble at the helm leads this one. Half a lap to go. Merritt's right where he wants to be. McQuillan is 5th. Wood is 6th. Khan now back in 7th. Adam Lavis has got his way up into 8th spot. Tate is 9th. Leder is going to win the invert at this rate. in 10th. Sam Chapman will want to have a say about that because he's 11th right now. Nick Wood in third, can't arguing over the same piece of real estate. We're running on board with John Merritt trying to find a way through, but there's no way through on Chris Noble at the moment. Through the right-hander, they'll flick it back downhill with double apex left. 1, 2, and then the next right-hander is the one that begins the run back to the start-finish line. Here we go. Main straight, checkered flag. Can Noble defend Merritt, or is the slipstream and draft too strong? Onto the main straight, checkered flag in the air. Barney's got it out, he's waving it. We're keeping our eyes peeled. 3 wide photo, Merritt. Merritt got it. Merritt in the middle. Gets the job done. In fact, the way they came across the line is exactly how they'd stand on the podium. Merritt in the middle, Noble to his right, and Cito to his left. First, second, and third. How about that? That's how you Formula V on a Thursday night. That is as good as an exhibition as we've seen from those gentlemen all season long. Have a look at that. The old experienced 10, the king of Formula V, back on the top step of the summit. Noble did everything he could. Noble tried his level best, but then the Pulse tuning boys swamped. The run was left a little bit too late there for Cito, and Merritt edges him out. Have a look at that. How good was it? Oh, Baker in for fourth, McQuillan, Khan, Wood, Lavis, Tate and Leder held off Chapman, who's going to start 11th. Sorry, going to finish 11th. Of course, it's a full invert for this second race. So Leder, if it had been race 2, he would have got the invert for 3. But no, it's a full invert for race 2. I keep forgetting that we've changed that up this season. It catches me out every single week. But yes, full invert coming up. And you're going to have Merritt, Noble and Riddell trying to cast their way through from the rear of the field. And then you're going to have at the back of the field blokes like Aidan Schultz and Colin Bennett being pole vaulted up to the front of the grid for this second race. So whether we see Colin Bennett on the grid or not, I'm not sure. Sam Stride is, we're being told, going to be out there. Aidan Schultz, Aaron Russell, Jacob Vickery, Jonathan Hooper, Daniel Snedden, Robert Colbreth and Tim Watson are going to make up the first 4 rows of the grid. Remembering that there was no Stark and no Rayhana last time round. Bradbury, Matson, Heaney, Henderson, Thoburn, Nealon, King, Chapman, Leder and Tate. All the way back then too. Lavis, Wood, Khan, McQuillan, Baker, Riddell, Noble and Merritt will lead the field away. Extraordinarily tight that first race. Let's hope the second race is just as good, although, Daniel, I'm sceptical because we know what happens when we put this field in reverse order in its entirety. It's been a new addition to the championship this season, and it's been an entertaining one.
Oh, that's a massive jump start. Who's that at the back?
Hey, that's Chris Noble. That is Chris Noble. What the hell's going on there? Noble's just taken off. Jump start of the century for Chris Noble. Up to 5th already. Might try and lead the field to turn 1, but he is coming to pit lane for a drive-through. His race over before it begins. That's extraordinary. He's going to love every single second of this because that will be on the replay file for quite a considerable amount of time. Todd Hayne, wasn't it, that did it last in the Porsches?
Oh, that's correct.
Oh, no,
yes.
trouble at the back. Trouble. Cars everywhere. Drivers on the grass. In trouble. Sam Chapman, Pavinder Leder, Kevin Henderson, Greg Heaney, Wayne Thoburn, Daniel Snedden, Brett Bradbury, Brendan Nealon and Robert Colbreth. All caught up in that. No Sam Stride, no Chris Stark, no Jackson Rayhana. We had 26 starters in this race. Fred Khan now off the road as well. He wasn't the only one. Chris Noble will have to come to the pit lane for a drive-through, you would imagine. And I'd suggest a considerable stop and hold as well.
I'm not too familiar what the stop and hold penalty from iRacing is for a jump. I think it's something like 30, 40 seconds.
It's supposed to go when the red lights go out, not when the first one ignites.
That's right. That's a big jump for Nova. So something distracted him, or whatever the case may have been, because that's not something that we characteristically see from him.
That being said, if you're going to do it, own it and do it properly.
Exactly.
So he did.
Exactly.
You know.
Right. There's no point in like stopping again if you know you go. Oh, did he actually miss his pit box? He does, because he's the first one there. Oh, he had to reverse and everything.
And did he bring people with him to pit lane? Yes, he did. Parvinder led her on the tow rope. Kevin Henderson, Daniel Sned into pit lane. Noble's out in 9.48 seconds. But right at the back of the field. He's charged through the field in race 3. It's going to be well worth watching. Let's have a look at what happened to Brett Bradbury. Oh, yeah.
Yep, just slight tag. All right.
Not much in that one.
On his own.
Looks like he might have done that all on his own. Meanwhile, Brendan Nealon was caught up right in the thick of this garbage. And it looks like it actually started ahead of him. Nealon took to the grass to take evasive action. And there was plenty of action to the right-hand side of him. John Merritt's up 20 spots already, up into 8. We'll get you back to live pictures in just a moment once we make more sense of what happened here. Hendo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hendo, Thoburn, and a few others caught up in that one. And maybe that's what Chris Noble was fearing. Maybe he thought he'd be best off getting the hell away from that garbage. And the only way to do it was to jump the start. Aaron Russell, the old experienced hand, who I had the pleasure of racing in karting way back, went off the road goes Aiden Schultz. Schultzy out to do some whippersnipping. That's not how you do it, Schultzy. Geez, the grass around Virginia is not going to need mowing after tonight. There's been a fair bit of it clipped already. Aaron Russell, 142.877. Have a look at both the Pulse boys and Adam Lavis as well, pushing Sean McQuillan along. And Pete Matson's the next one up the road that they've got to try and reach. Lavis hanging on the inside there, tight, trying to find his way by. Gets Cito, can't get John. Cito getting back on the inside to the next corner, the left-hander. How good.
I'll say this, of all of the reverse, full reverse grids we've had, this is definitely the cleanest, considering the faster guys coming through the field. Oh, you spoke too soon.
Daniel Correa with the commentator's curse on a Thursday night. Oh, dear.
Well, forget what I just
Poor
said.
old Schultzy. Absolutely poleaxed. And Schultz on the tow rope to pit lane.
Oh, Tony Baker. Get back on. There we go. Phil King back there as well.
It's hairy through there at the moment. He's got Ryan Tate and Phil King all over him. And then Brendan Nealon as well. Sean Benici pointing out the obvious, yes. And not from the lead commentator for a change. Aaron Russell, Jonathan Hooper, Jacob Vickery, 1, 2, 3. Russell in control of this one at the moment. Bennett Matson, then McQuillan leading this long train of cars. Headed up by, I should say, Hot Lap Merritt, then Riddell, Lavis, Tate, Baker, King, and Nealon. Pointing out that the Bailey Ladder boys are faring okay here at the moment. They are. And certainly pun intended there on his part. Bailey Ladder's car's climbing. Very nice. I like it. Oh, dear. Russell, Hooper, Vickery, 1, 2, and 3. Merritt still holding on to 7th. Has Cito for company and Lavis as well. It is Thursday Night Motorsport on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. And so far, this configuration of the Virginia circuit is dishing up an absolute treat for you. We're not quite half race distance in this second of 3. It's a 15-minute affair. It'll be 9 laps. We're on lap 4. Next, of course, next stop for us tonight will be as Vickery comes under pressure here and gets by Hooper. Very nicely done. Hooper slots back into 3rd place. Vickery up into 2nd. Next target, Aaron Russell. Very hard to lead in these cars and perform at speed. Often you leave yourself hanging as It's so easy to work together behind you and reel that gap in. You're faster working in tandem than you are flying solo in Formula V. We've seen it so many times before. Russell is sitting duck at the moment. Can he hold on to that 2.5 second advantage that he's got? Look at this field. Pete Matson now under serious pressure from McQuillan, Bennett, Merritt, Riddell, Ravis, Tate, Baker. So that's 4th through 11th. And poor old Pete's about to get swamped here. Bennett's already been swamped. Bennett's been passed by the Pulse boys. Have a look at McQuillan all over the back of Matson now goes to the inside. The Bailey ladder car slowly falling down the ladder, unfortunately. Oh, what the hell was that? What a save from McQuillan. There was definite contact there, and it unsettled McQuillan, but he somehow kept it steady. It is an 8-way fight for 4th. Matson, the sitting duck here. He's got them all over him like a cheap suit. Ravis, the next target. Hung out to dry was Lavis. Take back up on the inside of Bennett. A little bit of breathing space for Riddell over Matson now. 0.75 of a second. Russell, Hooper, Vickery. Russell's going on with this. I may have to stand corrected. Russell is going on with it. It's 3.4. Russell back to Hooper. Aaron is leading this one from the front and doing so rather nicely. After a shocker in race 1, it's a nice bounce back into form for the man from the Hunter Valley in the number 6. Have a look at John Merritt now. McQuillan the next target. Not yet. Not yet. I was just about to say before all hell broke loose there. Next up, of course, for us, the Super Formula Lights from Watkins, Glen tonight. So, plenty to sink your teeth into and sit back and enjoy with us here. Let us do all the work with you on a Thursday night on the platforms of the GSRC, the last Thursday of May. The last Thursday night motorsport before drop rounds come into play. And then we hit the business end of the tournament. 3 weeks left. McQuillan got swamped on the main straight that time by Riddell and Merritt by him. McQuillan back down the inside. Merritt hanging tough around the outside. Merritt's going to try and make that stick at turn 2 and does so on McQuillan. Now have a look at this. They haven't wasted any time. They haven't mucked around in getting on to the back of Vickery and Hooper. But I think Russell's gone. I don't think these guys in 4 laps are going to catch Aaron Russell, who's 4.2 to the good. McQuillan sits in 6th spot at the moment. Off the road goes Phil King. Vickery gets back by Hooper, goes back into 2nd place down the inside. We've got one hell of a fight on our hands here. Whoa, boy. For position 2 at the moment. There are 7 cars in the fight. Remember, these guys are fighting for the invert positions. The invert top 10 comes into play at the end of this race. Leder got back out onto the circuit. Heaney and Schultz still on pit road. Heaney's only just gone back to pit road. Schultz has been there for a couple of laps now. We're on lap 6. 3 laps to go at the line. Russell leads them back to the straight. Margin 4.7. Hooper getting swamped here and now. Hooper's out of the draft. Oh, Hooper, that's a quick way back down the line to 8th, I would suggest. The only one not willing to capitalise on that at the moment is Fred Kahn. He's not close enough. Have a look at him. 3 wide. Vickery swamped by Merritt, Riddell, and also McQuillan. Round the outside goes McQuillan. He ran out of room. McQuillan ran out of room. Had to tuck in behind Vickery once more. Riddell's back down there on the inside. Can he get by? Yes, he can. Vickery's just disappeared. Vickery has just disappeared. There he is. Oh, boy. That's another issue to take into consideration here. But Vickery may well be having an internet issue, dropping in and out like that. It could lead to packet loss. It could take a contender out of the fight. Lap 7. 4.2 the margin. Russell holding steady. down the inside. Oh, Vickery's off the road. Vickery's gone. Vickery's off the road. And out of contention. Oh, boy. Drops out of the top 10, down to 13th. A gallant effort, undone. And he was looking so good for an invert top 10 starting spot for race 3, and unfortunately, it goes up in smoke.
So just looking at these lap times that are being done, Aaron has a really, really good shot at this, because even with the traffic, so John Merritt did a 42.5, Glen Riddell 42.5, Sean McCollum 42.7, Aaron Russell's out the front doing, he just did a 43 there as everyone crosses the line. Let's have a look. 42.2, 42.2, 42.3 from these three. So we'd have 2 laps to go if I'm reading the time right. So
Correct.
I think he might have this, because these guys will fight. If they work together, that's one thing, but I think they're going to fight.
They will. They're racers. Of course they will.
Exactly.
Clayton Thoburn's off the road. Thoburn's out of it now. Drops down below Pete Matson. Drops back to 17th. Well, it's a long road back for both him and Chris Noble. Noble's back up into 19th now. Matson is 15th, getting ahead of Nealon. And there are 2 distinct fights going on here. One for 2nd and one for 7th. Aaron Russell's just got to keep this on the black stuff, and he'll have a win on the platforms of the GSRC in the Spreyton Cider Formula V division. How good Spreyton Cider, by the way. Got to love their ongoing support of the club. Not just the naming rights of Thursday Night Motorsport, but naming rights of the club, Hollis Bowlers. Great to have them on board in 2024. Sean McQuillan goes deep, but not deep enough. Runs out of room to try and find a way by Cito and Merritt. Happily sitting 4th at the moment. They're all fighting for the minors because Aaron Russell's coming to the white flag this time by with a 3.9 second advantage. And I'm sorry, but Aaron Russell's too good a steerer to let that sort of lead go. McQuillan to the outside, 3 wide one more time. Let's go. Merritt pips Riddell. McQuillan's going up on the outside of all of them. McQuillan wants Merritt. Oh, wheel banging. McQuillan poleaxed him. McQuillan goes deep. Merritt on the middle. Riddell on the inside. And McQuillan loses out. Nick Wood back up into 12th place. Sam Chapman's dropped in behind him now. So Wood up to 11th. And they're still fighting for on the 11th and 12th because Colin Bennett and Fred Khan are 5.2 seconds up the road. McQuillan still forcing issue with hot lap here. And Riddell as well. Aaron Russell is only half a lap away from victory. That's the great storyline out of these full invert races. The bigger the field, the more likely your chances of keeping the hot shots at bay, provided that you dot the I's and cross the T's and hit your markers. Make a mistake and all bets are off. It's all happening here. The final few corners for Aaron Russell. How about this for a performance on a Thursday night to give himself a 10th place starting position for race 3. Very clear and comfortable in the end. Aaron Russell is a race winner on the platforms of the GSRC, winning race 2 of round 7 in Spreyton Cider Formula V.
Oh.
Cito Riddell. Oh! Cito edges out Riddell. Cito edges out Merritt and McQuillan in for 4th. Ravis, Tate, Hooper, Khan, Baker and Bennett the top 10. And Colin Bennett's going to have the invert once more. Colin Bennett will have pole position for this 3rd and final race. He technically had it in this race just gone because the 2nd row became the front row in the absence of both Chris Stark and also Jackson Rayhana. And Sam Stride's still in race control. So there are just 26 cars out there on the circuit. Aidan Schultz, Greg Heaney to jump from the back of the grid. Wayne Thoburn comes to the line and drives off the circuit in 17th. He and Chris Noble will be coming through from the 9th and 10th rows of the grid, respectively, ladies and gentlemen. But at the front, Colin Bennett's going to lead Tony Baker to green. Fred Kahn and Jonathan Hooper will be the second row. Ryan Tate, Adam Lavis the third. Sean McQuillan, John Merritt the fourth. Glen and Aaron Russell from row 5. After Aaron Russell scores a race win in Spreyton Cider Formula V. Magnificent stuff. And controlled it from the front and got just out to a point where it was enough for him to hold the chasing pack at bay. And that, again, comes back to the lack of slipstreaming on this circuit beyond the main straight, I guess, along with the fact that Russell is a very good steerer on his day. And that you can only do so much with that invert unless the field wipes itself out. So for the guys that started right at the back, like the Riddells, the Merritts and the McQuillans, to get through as far as they did, all credit to them. Well done. But by that point, unfortunately, once they had some clear air and could go out in pursuit of Russell, the horse had already bolted. And it's a very different tactical game that gets played in these full inverts as opposed to a top 10 invert, Daniel, because in a top 10 invert, Aaron wouldn't have had that front grid starting position because of the fact that he finished outside the top 20 in that opening race. So, well done to Aaron Russell, making every post a winner. When you're presented with opportunities like that, you are your own worst enemy if you don't cash in on them.
No, that's exactly right. And again, absolute excellent driving. Because as you say, most of the time what we see when we have these full invert grids is the really fast guys at the back tend to absolutely just shred their way through that middle pack and then get out to the front. Sometimes the guys at the front crack under the pressure of leading. There's some incidents and it just makes that job much easier for those guys at the back. But Aaron Russell, man, he was like, I'm first, I'm going to stay first, I'm going to steer clear of all of the issues. I'll try not to put a foot wrong. And even though at the back end of the race, we saw that his times were dropping in comparison to those of Riddell and Merritt and McQuillan to a point. I think it was almost about a second a lap slower. He had built a 4-second lead, and so it didn't matter. You can see it there on the board in front of us there for race 2. 4.7 seconds was the gap. So a fantastic drive for him, and which will mean he will start in P10 for this upcoming race.
Oh dear. Catch your breath, everybody. Magnificent. Hey, this is Spreyton Cider Thursday Night Motorsport on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club across Facebook, Twitch and YouTube. And we wouldn't be able to do it without the great support of Spreyton Cider, Waste Options, Orbic Australia, Loadsy Racing, M-Wave Australia and Flash Graphics. Good stuff. Field about to come into position now for this 9-lap feature race. The full grid lining up ready for this final 9 laps of round 7. Only 9 races left on the program once we're done here, ladies and gentlemen. Reminding you, of course, that next week we will take you to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada. Then on to the club configuration of Sebring. Then, if you don't mind, on to, we believe it's going to be Mugello as per player vote a couple of weeks ago, which will be absolutely superb. And Colin Bennett and Tony Baker the front row here. Fred Kahn, Jonathan Hooper the second. Ryan Tate and Lavis the third. Sean McQuillan, John Merritt the fourth. Glen, Aaron Russell the fifth. I'm not ruling out Russell latching on and going with these blokes, provided he can keep it in one piece and stay out of trouble. I reckon he can go toe-to-toe with the best of them, because his pace was rather consistent in comparison to those around him in that previous race, despite the 4-second lead that he enjoyed. Off and racing. Race 21 of the campaign. Third and final one of the night. Spreyton Cider Formula V from Virginia International on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. And a beautiful start from Colin Bennett's going to lead the field to turn 1. Tony Baker down there on the inside forced the issue with Ryan Tate. Tate hung out to drive for the minute. So Tate will actually be potentially waiting, I'd say, for a couple of the other blue and white coloured cars in the stable, namely, of course, Chris Noble and Lane Thurburn to make their way through. Oh, trouble! Oh, massive shunt. Adam Lavis caught up in that. Adam Lavis has been caught up in that again. There's an enormous amount of carnage unfolding behind the main action here. Let's have a look at it again. Robert Colbreth also involved. Watch how it all falls apart rapidly here. And still it goes too, ladies and gentlemen. There's more carnage than you can poke a stick at in the early stages of this final race. Pete Matson, Aiden Schultz on the tow rope lane. Thoburn's been caught up in that as well. Colbreth, that was a separate incident. Some of the garbage had already happened ahead of them. Ryan Tate now off the road with Colin Bennett. So Fred Kahn's had a wobbly. And that's just set off the chain reaction. Baker and Lavis, oh dear, 4, 5, 6 cars caught up in that incident. And still they come. This is the ride that you enjoyed with Adam Lavis. And a ride that he probably didn't enjoy. Oh, geez. This field is horrendously already spread out, ladies and gentlemen, and shaken up. So I'm sure that Daniel Correa-Sar's incident alert has been running gangbusters in that opening lap, because have a look at who's at the front. Ben Chapman, if you don't mind. From 12th to 1st, right around the outside of Tito at the start of lap 2. Chapman's going to lead it. Merritt's going to force the issue and try to get through on the inside, then decides to tuck in behind Cito. Hooper and Wood and Russell there, 4th, 5th and 6th. I told you Aaron would go with them. He stayed out of trouble so far. Nealon, Leder, Henderson and Baker make up the top 10. Noble's up 8 spots. Snedden's up 12. Kahn's down 10. Vickery and Bradbury make up the top 15. And Ryan Tate, Colin Bennett, Sean McQuillan, Pete Matson, Aiden Schultz are already on the tow rope. Tate's got back out there. So too Adam Lavis, so too Phil King. Colin Bennett still stuck on pit road along with Pete Matson. McQuillan and Schultz are parked up and are done for the night. So it was only a matter of time, Daniel. We've been sitting here waiting for the big one. Race 3, lap 1 delivers.
Yeah, and it all started quite just with a really unfortunate turn. It was Fred Kahn. There was no contact. He just went a little too deep into the corner. The car unstable. It was a little too unstable. It spins off to the left, and then unfortunately nobody can avoid him from behind. Lavis tried to go as far left as he could onto the grass, but unfortunately still ended up clipping the front of Fred Kahn's car and went off himself. But for these guys on your screen, well, they're cheering because it was a fairly easy movement through. As we can see, I think that's Matton just coming out of the pits there. And as you said, you were on the money. Look at Aaron Russell. He is right there fighting with the front. And he's doing a really good job. Actually sets the fastest lap of the race thus far with a 42.02 on that last one.
Got some good stuff to share with you between the end of the main course and the start of dessert for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, Formula V, always the main course on a Thursday night. Front and centre off the top of the program. Then Super Formula Lights just to put the icing on the cake, so to speak. 4 minutes and 14 seconds gone. We've lost a couple. We know that. Colin Bennett's still on pit road as well. Fair bit of repair work going on with his car at the moment. McQuillan and Schultz out of business. That's unfortunate for Sean for his night to end like that. Look at Aaron Russell. We're riding on board with him now in 5th place. Don't run yourself out of real estate there, Aaron. Geez, you got nowhere to go. He's got to tuck in behind Sam Chapman. Then Cito. Have a look at the fact that Nick Wood and John Merritt are trying to take off at the front. Round they come to the right-hander. And Russell knows full well that he needs to just stay out of trouble here and leave enough room. Can't afford contact in these cars. Look at Jonathan Hooper up there in 6th spot. That's a bit of a wild card for you. Brendan Nealon, then Pavinder Leder. Chris Noble up inside the top 10 now. Tony Baker, Fred Kahn with him. Then Vickery, Snedden, Bradbury and Henderson the top 15 rather. Merritt the leader, Wood to second. Up the outside goes Russell. But down on the inside was Chapman. Chapman's going to keep him at bay for the moment. Russell's going to force the issue and just gave him a little bit of a nudge through the corner. You might have seen Chapman's car get a little bit unstable there. a little bit squirrely. We're just warming up on a Thursday night. This has been actually. I was a little bit sceptical, I must admit, Daniel, when I saw the circuit configuration here, and that we didn't have that very long back straight that Virginia is famous for. But you can't be disappointed with what these guys have delivered so far. It's been top shelf.
100%. And again, I had a similar thought to you. I thought, well, we know that the good battles come when these guys have that draft, because it essentially creates a leapfrog situation, and then there's a little bit of strategies that do you want to be leading when we're coming up to the end and this and that. But all throughout the practice session, I was watching these guys drive around, and I'm thinking, wow, they are staying close the whole way. We could be in for a cracker, and it has not disappointed. Race 1 was great. Race 2 was great, as we saw the man on your screen take his proverbial win. And now, considering how much they've just got a taste of that, I can only imagine when we get to those last 2 laps, everything's going to come unhinged.
Race 3 is shaping up slowly but surely to be an absolute belter. Main straight again. Wood decides to stay in the slipstream in the draft and loses second to Riddell in the process. Cito up the outside. Once the lead, goes for it. Have a look at Chapo as well. Chapo with the big send. Merritt down the inside. Cito.
Oh, look at Aaron Russell.
Have a look at this. And get even to Dylan Gray tuning in via the YouTube feed as well. The 6 of them are going at it in Virginia. And look at Jonathan Hooper just minding his own business, watching from the best seat in the house at the moment. These 5, some of the best in the business, going at it right here and now. Russell's up at a 3rd. It's got the better of Nick Wood. Cito and Merritt, 2nd and 1st. Pulse tuning yet again on top here. So we've had 2 different race winners already tonight. Merritt's looking to double up. Russell's looking to double up. Anyone else within that top 6, if they come across the line first, we'll have yet again 3 different winners in the night. Chapman around the outside of Russell. Russell's lost out to not only Wood, but also Chapman on this lap. And Chapo senses that now's the time to go. Lap 5, half race distance, 4.5 down, 4.5 to go. And now is the time to go out in pursuit of, firstly, Wood, but then Cito and Merritt as well. They've not lost the draft just yet. Cito the fastest of the race last time by 1:41.880. Back to the straight they come. Watch this. Cito to the inside. Jeez, hugs the inside of the circuit. Merritt gave it to him, gifted it to him. Says if you want the inside, you can have it. Here comes Nick Wood wanting a piece of it as well. Merritt makes it very clear that the only way to get by the Pulse boys is to go the long way round. Down the outside goes Wood. Does he back out of it, or does he commit to it? No, he backs out of it. Tries the up and under on Merritt. Merritt's well aware of that plan of attack before he gets the chance to execute it. He knows the tricks that Wood's up to here. Cito and Merritt and Wood, then Chapman, then Russell, then Hooper. 1.6 covers the top 6 at the moment. Hooper not without the chance of factoring in the results here. Should it all blow up in smoke up front? Hooper's just falling off that pack, but he's still within striking distance. And Josh Zuno, yeah, you've got a point. You've got a point. Do team orders come into play here? Cito's got a championship to think about. Merritt does not. Merritt is not in contention this season. Wood up on the outside. Chapman down his inside. Whoa, a little bit loose there from Wood. Can Chapman capitalise on that? Yes, you better believe it. There he is, Chapman, up around the outside. Can he get there on the inside, or is he not close enough? No, not close enough yet to get by Nick Wood. Have a look at Aaron Russell. We're back line astern. Follow the leader. Nose to tail through the right-hander. Ride the ripple strips. Then left. We're riding on board with the race 2 winner. Off goes Brett Bradbury in the background as well. In the meantime, this is a race in 6. Hooper's been invited back into the fight. We've got 3 laps to go at the line. I sense another last lap thriller coming here, ladies and gentlemen.
Aaron's going to try a similar move.
Unfortunately, one guy that's not out there and amongst the fun tonight, but no doubt is enjoying watching it, is our El Presidente, the great man trucker Joe Baldwin. We'll get to him on the other side of the Nullarbor. Just a moment. There goes Nick Wood. He did somehow So,
Looks like
Jonathan Hooper, hello, Joe. How are you, mate?
G'day, mate. Looks like we've got a bit of high-energy V racing at VIR, one of the best tracks for the Vs. Definitely going up through the section here, heading up to where the tree is. It's a great piece of racetrack. Always puts on good racing.
Have a look at Chapman. Chapman wants the inside. 1 second. Trying to get by at the top of the hill. Can't do it. Up through the right-hander they go. Chapman's got to be worried about the presence of Aaron Russell and trying to keep him at bay. Does so for the moment. 2 laps to go at the line. We've been on the limiter since the start. It's just been top shelf from the outset tonight on the platforms of the GSRC. Merritt, Riddell, Chapman, Russell, Wood and Hooper are only a second off the fight. They could still work their way back onto the train, which would be remarkable given the moment that Wood had at the start of this lap. The 2 Pulse boys are exactly where they want to be. Merritt leads, Riddell to the line. Cito will love the opportunity to slipstream by. Merritt at the line just to prove the point and set it up for the next time by. Have a look at that. Cito to the line with 2 to go. If they're not planning on something similar on lap 9, I'm not here. Russell to the outside. Chapman to the inside. Russell can't get by. Has covered off Chapman, but can't get by the Pulse boys just yet. Chapman might want a piece of this around the outside on Russell. He won't get it. He won't be close enough. Russell to the inside, trying to get by the Pulse boys. No, not quite. Chapman around his outside makes him pay for that. It was a thought in the moment thought from Russell, and unfortunately, he hasn't prevailed. It's backfired. Next time by the line, white flag in the air. Hey, Trucker, are you jumping in for Super Formula Lights, please?
Not racing, mate. No, I'm doing RC for the Super Formula Lights tonight. I missed last week. Work's been a little bit hectic for me the last month or so. That's why there hasn't been much racing for myself during the week. But yeah, made it home early today, so I'm back in. I only missed 1 week of RC, so someone's got to keep an eye on these guys in the Super Formula Lights. We've got we're at Watkins Glen boot tonight, and there's no bus stop, so there's a lot of speed carried down into the carousel. I debated over whether or not to use a bus stop, and I went against it. I think it's probably going to add an overtaking opportunity for these cars with the draft, and if you funnel them into the bus stop, you're just going to kill probably one of the best overtaking opportunities. The track's got
hang on, Trucker! Come on back here! Oh, swipe them all out! Russell tried to force the issue and make it 4-1 on the run to 1! And unfortunately, he and Glen have locked wheels! Or was it Merritt? It was Merritt. My apologies. Have a look at this. Have a look at that for commitment. Russell on the inside.
No.
And it was a wipeout. It was a wipeout.
Did it?
Chapman continues to lead the race from Cito, and Russell somehow back in 3rd. Now, there's another incident that's unfolded in all of this, and we need to have another look at it.
Oh.
Because if we keep riding with the 2 that didn't get caught up in that incident on the run to turn 1, you might find that they've come up unstuck as well. Because John Merritt, unfortunately, has ended up on the tow rope. So keep an eye on this. Watch John Merritt. So Chapman got out of this unscathed. Oh, no, he didn't. Merritt spun round and then got collected by Hooper. So there were 2 incidents in that. Merritt on the tow rope. Chapman's going to go to victory lane in what is a Stephen Bradbury-like moment. 1 man left standing at the front. Holy smoke. Anticlimactic on this final lap, but not if your name's Sam Chapman. Back in the championship fight. Chapo makes it 3 different winners in the round at VIR. Wins race 3 of round 7 of Spreyton Cider Formula V. I don't think I've ever seen a final lap in the V's as chaotic as that, and it all happened in the first 500 metres of it on the run to turn 1. Cito's 2nd, Russell somehow gets back to 3rd. We need to go back and have another look at that in a moment. Hooper to fourth, Wood, Noble, Khan, Baker, Leder, Vickery, Henderson, Nealon. And then Snedden, Bradbury, King, Lavis, Tate, Watson. And then Colbrad's going to round it out. Heaney on the tie rope, out of business. Matson is a lap down. He finishes in 21st. Merritt's going to end up on the tie rope. Blaine Thoburn's out of business. Sam Chapman's going to light it up in celebration. And Dudowi's on the grass in the V. Colin Bennett, McQuillan and Schultz were lap one retirements. But my goodness gracious me, we need to have another look at the start of that final lap.
That's some wild stuff. I think Chapo's happy. Have a look at him. He's out there in the dirt. He's celebrating. He's probably wondering where all his friends went when he got down to turn one. That was wild. It just was that was a pure game of Skittles. So
let's have a look at it again. Here it is.
The track here kind of disappears from him. So where Aaron's pulled out, where it blends there. See, Glen tried. Oh no. See.
10-pin bowling.
It's just been called a racing incident by race control. I can see the sheet there now. And it's probably one half dozen of the other there. It's Glen's probably moved to cover a little bit late, but it was a dwindling piece of track there. So it's that's a really, really difficult one to call, and I think it's probably the right call.
Well, have a look at it again. Have a look at it again. There goes Russell to the inside, but you can see the real estate, as you say, Joe, just running out on them. Russell to the inside, making it 4 wide. We hadn't gone 4 wide all night. Wood was there hoping to make it 5 wide, but he got wiped out in the process. There's the wheel lock there. Russell spears across the circuit. So does Riddell. How they didn't wipe out Merritt and Chapman in the process is beyond me. But unfortunately, Nick Wood was wrong place, wrong time. And then Merritt got into the back of Chapman, and around he went. But yeah, I mean, all credit to Aaron Russell. He was right there, willing to, fire when the whips were cracking, and wanting to fire it down the inside and go for it. He left his lunge to the last lap, and unfortunately, just a little bit of wheel to wheel with Cito, and all hell breaks loose. Then none of them would have been able to believe their luck when they come to turn one and see that. Hooper and Merritt locking horns. Merritt spun, Hooper in the middle of the circuit with nowhere to go, and straight into the back of Merritt. Off goes Cito, off goes Russell. Nick Wood gets back on the road in 5th place, finishes behind Hooper. Oh my goodness gracious me. That was fantastic stuff. Really pulsating stuff, as you've come to expect from Spreyton side of Formula V. There are the results for you. Chapman, Riddell, Russell, Hooper, Wood, Noble, Khan, Baker, Leder and Vickery. Then Henderson, Nealon, Snedden, Bradbury, King, Lavis, Tate, Watson, Colbreth and Merritt. Unbelievable. And the first bit of 4 wide action we'd seen all night. Unfortunately, just asking for a bit too much on that occasion. We'll get a replay of race 3 up there for you now, ladies and gentlemen, to enjoy whilst we have a chat to Sam Chapman. And Chapo, you were quite happy with yourself after that one, and rightly so, back in the championship fight.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's after a pretty tough night beforehand. Luck finally fell my way in that final lap there. I couldn't quite believe what I was seeing. It was just everyone tumbling over each other. I had to double check and make sure I didn't squeeze too much, but it was all right. I held lines, so then John sort of went up that inside and looped himself as well. So ended up going pretty well after a tough go.
Remarkably clean first 2 races, and you guys saved your best canoe work until last. I mean, no one could find their way through cleanly in the opening stages of that final race. You, however, got an almighty start to the third one.
I did. I mean, I'd argue the first 2 races were that clean, given I got taken out of both of them.
We'll come back to that. I mean, at the front.
Fair enough. Well, quite frankly, because I didn't qualify all that well. I think I qualified in 7th or something, so that certainly didn't help first race. And because it was some a lot of fast guys up there start, which was good to race with. Sorry, I forgot the question. I'm still recovering. I only just flew in.
Hang on, flew in from where?
Flew in from Melbourne. I actually had to miss production cars last night because I had a dinner, but that dinner also had refreshments, so I'm not in my best feel.
And by refreshments, he's not talking about water, ladies and gentlemen, by the sounds of it. Now, on that note, VIR, we were a little bit sceptical about this one, Daniel and I, but by gee, this track certainly delivered the goods tonight.
Yeah, well, I think you were sceptical last time we did VIR as well, that it delivered. So I think we need to be.
Oh no, this configuration more so.
Yeah, and that's fair. Like it is much harder to overtake. Like I really struggled. I mean, I had damage in both races as well, but I did actually really struggle to get moves done, which, you know, obviously on some tracks V's it is just a real back and forward, but, you know, particularly up against, you know, two pulse guys, or once you got one that had damage, it was actually pretty hard work. But it did put on good racing, and it was fun. Got a decent crowd as well. It looks like the V's are growing towards the end of the season in numbers, so
which is
that's
good to see. Yep.
It's great to see. It's great to see.
And with racing like that, hard to see why they ever dwindled in the first place, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I agree with that. But yeah, apparently so. You know, whether or not as well said, your favourite back bet, daylight savings, is letting a few more people through the gate for the first race of the night. That could be the case. Maybe getting a bit colder, darker, people are staying home, but either way, it's good to see a good crew out there and some real talent in that top 10 at the moment too. Yeah, obviously got a bit out of hand tonight, but yeah, some new sort of faces and names that I haven't seen very often before right in front there.
3 big weeks to come. Montreal next, then of course off to Sebring, and then on to Magello. Just have a look at some of the wheel work going on here, ladies and gentlemen, with these 4 in the final race. I must admit, the wild card amongst that lot tonight that you will become more familiar with as he starts rocking up for more races here is young Aaron Russell. By gee, he had a good run tonight.
He did. He was, oh gosh, yeah, like, in fact, he gave me a bit of how you going up the backside a couple of times, just a little bit of a twitch. It made me pretty nervous.
That's how we say hello in Newcastle.
Oh, yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, it was very quick there, and I was watching my mirrors most of that race, trying to work out how to keep him at bay and also try and make a pass on those pulse cars ahead. But yeah, no, he's got a lot of pace out there. And so, yeah, good to see him up there. And yeah, of course, like that reshuffle of the grid as well. And, you know, it just throws a cat amongst the pigeons, and you have someone that might not always be up there too in some of the races. So, makes it usually a very messy race too, as it was. But, you know, nevertheless, that's, you know, it is a bit of a lottery sometimes.
Yeah, indeed. And the other thing I was going to say too was Chris Noble with his best Todd Hayne impersonation, the jump start in race 2.
Yeah, that was weird as. Like, it picked up pace as well. Like, it didn't sort of slow down. Like, it sort of just whizzed past me. I was doing about 10, and this car goes past me about 70. Sort of like dodging his way through the field. I was like, that's an interesting move.
If you're going to jump it, you might as well commit.
Well, yeah, I would probably argue it's a fair safety risk having someone doing that sort of speed through a stopped pack and as the race starts, and it's just sort of going to breed incidents. So I think it's something to consider. Still whether or not, you know, even if you're going to get that 40 seconds, whether we should sort of allow it, I think. But, you know, it was pretty funny to watch as he went past, and it dodged me, so I'm happy.
All right, very nicely done. Stay with me, Chubbo. Get your thoughts on a couple of other things in just a moment. Just going around the grounds for you. 3.6.24. Port Adelaide currently trailing Carlton 5.3.33 by 9 points. Second quarter of the AFL, Thursday night football. NRL, Parramatta currently leading Cronulla on Thursday night footy, 16 points to 10. Well, there you go. Now, A couple of things to look forward to this weekend too, ladies and gentlemen, and I mentioned it a few moments ago that I had a couple of things to tease. If you're in the Ipswich area this weekend, get out to the Ipswich Kart Club because a mate of mine, Mark Brax, is out there anchoring the commentary for what they refer to as the Road to MotoGP, FIM Mini GP. So yeah, 160 to 190 see bikes out on the Ipswich Kart Club circuit, whilst the karters are of course up in Emerald for round 3 of the Australian Karting Championship this weekend. So there's nothing going on at the kart track. Why not throw some bikes on it? Of course, out at the Ben Motorsport Park in South Australia, the guy from up here, the great man Ryan Casher, is flying the flag for Queensland in the latest round of the Super Cheap Auto TCR Australia Series. I'm a bit disappointed about that one because after having terrestrial TV coverage through 7 Mate for the first 3 rounds of the campaign, it's all on 7 Plus this weekend. I guess the only upside of that is it's free. But what has got me shaking my head at the moment, and I said as much on Facebook yesterday, is that they're trialling remote commentary this weekend. 2 of their commentators are based in South Australia, but they're actually going to be calling the action from the SEN studios in Melbourne this weekend. Try and make bloody sense of that if you can, ladies and gentlemen. And of course the other series, the WASA sanctioned one, with those people from the Vanilla Auto Club running it around at Morgan Park Raceway in Warwick this weekend for the Australian Formula V National Series. That's got on the bill out there this weekend, so that'll be well worth watching. The XLs, the Queensland State Series that is, and also the Queensland Touring Car Championship are out there. Plus there are other national categories in what's otherwise a glorified state meeting, and you'll see that on SBS and Fox. But the thing I'm most looking forward to, gents, is that Amy Shark is touring nationally later in the year. Tickets to that go on sale tomorrow, and I am going to snap a couple up. So if I'm not here late October, it's only because I'm attending an Amy Shark concert down in Sydney. I'll be on a 2-week swing through Sydney with a couple of things going on, and looking forward to that immensely. Now, Chapo, whilst we've still got you, obviously we've got Super Formula Lights coming up in a quarter of an hour's time from the Glen. We've already got Joe Baldwin's thoughts on that. Let's talk Formula V next week. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, one of my absolute favourites.
Yes. And I had questions about it last time, but it ended up going very well for me with a couple of race wins. So I'm hoping.
So that's why it's back on the schedule. Yes, gotcha.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, when might play that? No, actually, no, because I think it was. It mirrors the Super Formula Light.
That's right.
So we're just in Canada that way. I mean, quite frankly, doing Villeneuve with a full reverse grid fills me with fear and horror. But
it fills my voice box with apprehension as well, just quietly.
Yeah. We'll go get shares and strepsils, I think, and ASAP. But yeah, so no, that should be good. Hopefully, we can sort of get the champ back on track. Tonight was not ideal, with the first 2 races, so we'll drop back a little bit. So yeah, it'll just be a drop avoiding trouble in these and making sure you quali well first race so you can at least get one good race in.
All right, mate, very nicely done. Thank you to you for that. Obviously, race 1 and 2 not necessarily going to plan, but race 3 certainly did well done. Looking forward to seeing you back on track next week.
Yep, we'll give the Super Formula Lights a crack, but I've not done any practice, so stay tuned.
All right, very nicely done. There he is, Sam Chapman, race winner in race 3 of round 7 of Spreyton Cider Formula V. We will have 3 more rounds where that came from for you, ladies and gentlemen. 9 races left in the campaign over the next 3 Thursday nights before we, of course, take a well-deserved 2-week break. Not just me, but everybody here on the platforms of the Gentlemen's Sim Racing Club. Live pictures will come in from Watkins, Glen as soon as Daniel Corrier has them up ready for you. It'll be qualifying in Super Formula Lights. We'll chime back in from the commentary box at the tail end of that qualifying session, and we'll have a look at the championship standings, the agenda for the night ahead, the grid and the track that we'll be racing on as we head from Virginia to upstate New York to Watkins Glen for Super Formula Light and round 7 of their campaign. It's week 7. It's night 4 of week 7 of turn 2 on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. And we are done as far as the main course is concerned, but dessert is still to come as Spreyton side of Thursday Night Motorsport continues for you. Live, exclusive and free to the platforms of the Gentleman's Sim Racing Club across Facebook, Twitch and YouTube. Don't go away. We're back with you live, local, exclusive and free on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club across Facebook, Twitch and YouTube. And we are streaming right around the world on a Thursday night. Great to have you along for the ride. It is Spreyton's on a Thursday night motorsport. We're into dessert mode now, ladies and gentlemen, on the back of a cracking main course dished up by Formula V from Virginia International. We've moved across the United States to Watkins, Glen in upstate New York, to Watkins, Glen International Raceway. We're on the boot configuration tonight, minus the bus stop, around 7 of the Wings and Slicks, the Super Formula Lights. I'm Zach Coburn, Daniel Correa-Sars here alongside me. Just going around the grounds. 35-32, Carlton leading Port Adelaide at half-time in the AFL. 16-10, Parramatta leading Cronulla. Thursday night football half-time in the NRL. And we've got Jackson Rayhana on top of the timesheets here at the moment. We're not yet ticking into race mode. We're still in the closing stages of qualifying. We're in overtime as far as qualifying is concerned. June 1, 2024, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 27 degrees the ambient, 43 on track, cloudy conditions. Do we get some rain? Probably not, although there are some dark clouds overhead. We'll wait and see. 15 kilometre an hour winds and 29% humidity. 5.4 kilometres this course, and it looks basic based on that track map without that bus stop, but I tell you what, this is one of the more difficult tracks to master that these guys will come to, and there are trouble points waiting for you right throughout the opening sector of that lap through 2, 3 and 4. If we don't see a couple of wheels locked there and a couple of cars in the arm car bouncing back onto the racing line, then for once in their lives they've been very well behaved. Jackson Rayhana on top. It's a 40-minute race tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Rayhana on top of the points table at the moment, very comfortably, 109 points clear of Adam Lavis. Aidan Luthwaite sitting third at the moment on 240, 227 for David Baz, 214 for Mark Gomez, 212 for Brett Barker, 188 for Matt Schmidtke, 162 for Guy Leach, 157 for Cam Culverwell, and in 10th place, Jack Humphreys on 152 points. The moment. We'll have the grid for you in just a tick once the drivers are ready to line up on the grid over there in New York. Remembering that we do this with thanks to the great people at Spreyton Cider Waste Options, Orbic Australia, Loadsy Racing, M-Wave Australia, and also Flash Graphics. Just bear with me a moment here, folks. I'm getting rid of the tail end of a Strepsil that was required, I must say, after the captivating and enthralling and compelling Formula V we've just had. Race server launched. Cars getting into position now, lining up on the grid. We've skipped forward to 10 past 12. Yes, there's some cloud around, but I tell you what, it doesn't look threatening just yet. We might see if Daniel Correa-Sars can have a look at the radar for us in a moment to see if there's anything on the way. I mean, there's certainly a tremendous patch of blue above at the moment, but you look around, there's plenty of grey forming. So whether we can get this race in time before that rain arrives remains to be seen. Jackson Rayhana, Aidan Luthwaite at the front row, Guy Leach, Mark Gomez second row, Bevan Boyce, David Baz third row, Brett Barker, Matt Schmidtke fourth row, Stephen Cretenden and Adam Lavis from the fifth row. From the sixth row, it is Caleb Dawson and John Baldwin. From the seventh row, Paul Wilson and Justin Schweikert. Eighth row, Wayne Vizapari and Astagas. Ninth row, Mark McNamara and Brad Coates. Andrew Neal, Greg Heady jump from row 10. Brett Bradbury and Pete Matson from 11. From 12, it's Sam Chapman and Scott Jordanson. From 13, Daniel Snedden and Robert Colbreth. Then Tim Watson, Adam Burhoff and Chris Stark. And once again, I don't know if Starkey's going to line up on the grid. We wait and see. But I tell you what, the racing here this season has been terrific. Last week, a little bit blip in the road as far as the attendance is concerned. Back towards the right end of the high 20s we go tonight with the field capacity here on the grid. Ready to fire. Super Formula Lights, open wheel Thursday on the platforms of the Gentleman's Sim Racing Club. There are the onboard shots that we'll carry for you throughout the course of the evening. Rayhana and Luthwaite, the two combatants on the front row. And Luthwaite will be looking forward to the end of the night to Daniel Correa-Sars, because that's when drop rounds will be taken into consideration on the matrix and become part of the equation. So we'll wait and see what unfolds at the end of 40 minutes here at the Watkins Glen International Circuit on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. Let's go! Great start, clean start, field away nicely on the run down to turn 1. Round 7 of Super Formula Lights is underway. Can they get through the first sequence of corners cleanly? Let's wait and see. Oh boy. Hold your breath. So far, so good. Alongside track cam, across the curb they go. It's a clean jump on the run down past the bus stop towards the carousel. Everybody away nicely. That fills me with a little bit of optimism. We had 27 cars start. Adam Burhop, the last of those at the moment. No Daniel Sneddon, no Chris Stark. And Mark Gomez down on the inside of Bevan Moyes to go to fourth. Lap times around here will be interesting. Let's keep an eye on them and see where we're going to be at pace-wise tonight with regards to our lap counter. Remembering that there will be a splash and dash for fuel required at some point here. Rayhana, Leach, Luthwaite, Gomez, Moyes, Barker, Baz. Gomez up the outside of Luthwaite. Gomez trying to go to third around the outside of Luthwaite. Whoa! What about that remove? What about that for a start from Mark Gomez? Luthwaite has to settle into fourth for the moment. Rayhana's got the jump at the front. He's gone. Nice, clean getaway.
It happened again, Zach. I was just about to say how well this pack had gone through, and Robert Colbreth, Tim Watson have crashed at the back end. So it was almost an incident-free lap one. But
and Adam Burhop as well has been caught up in that. On the tow rope is Adam Burhop. We'll try and get a replay of that for you in just a few moments. In the meantime, we circle lap 2 of this race. 1 minute 42.102. So those times should come down below that 1 minute 40 marker second time around. And when we have a look at that, I mean, 1 minute 40 was that threshold in race 1, wasn't it, for Formula V at Virginia? So if we're using that as our calculator tonight, 3 into 5, and there are 8 5s in 48 3s make 24. So we're looking around that 24-25 lap marker tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get a firmer idea of that exactly when we get the end of the second lap and the fast lap time from Rayhana. 2:47 gone. Rayhana leads Leach. Gomez, Luthwaite. Luthwaite down the inside, back by Gomez. Thanks very much for coming. Out now in pursuit of Guy Leach. Rayhana trying to bolt clear of the pack. 1.5 seconds to the good. Bevan Moyes is fifth. David Baz, Brett Barker, Matt Schmidtke, Caleb Dawson. And unlike Formula 1 around Monaco on Sunday night, at least we've already seen some overtaking here in wings and slicks, which is filling everybody with a lot of confidence as to the kind of spectacle we're in for throughout the remaining 36.5 minutes now. 1:36.380 for Rayhana. So if we're that far under the 1 minute 40 bracket, I mean, that's 3 seconds under that threshold that I was looking at of 1 minute 40, which over the course of 24 laps is going to buy you 72 seconds. So I wouldn't mind, if I was a gambling man, saying that you can settle on about 25 laps tonight, Daniel Correa, sir. 25 laps for this race, 24 the splash and dash, and then 1 to get home. Bevan Moyes there in position number 4 at the moment. Under pressure from Gomez, having just got by him, trying to consolidate the position, and has been able to for the moment. So Luthwaite goes out in pursuit of Leach and has got by him as well. So Luthwaite to second, and now out in pursuit of Rayhana. Rayhana the leader, 1.5 seconds to the good. Pit stops ultra important tonight here, Daniel.
Yeah, it certainly is. We should be in for a pretty cracker race, honestly. Just considering some of the pace that we're seeing with these front guys. I'm very curious to see if Aiden Luthwaite will be able to bring back Jackson Rayhana towards the tail end. As you said, the pit stops will be very key, and we'll see how that unfolds towards the latter half of the race. Just want to touch on what you mentioned about Monaco. It's well known for those of us who are veterans of the Formula 1 sphere. Monaco is, unfortunately, and I will use this term, boring, because let's face it, the race is on the Saturday. The Sunday is just a nice parade. Having said that, very expensive parade. It is. Having said that, wow, easily one of the craziest crashes I have ever seen. in Formula One since, I would argue, Grosjean of Bahrain.
Yep, and easily one of the best crashes I've seen at Monaco that hasn't been orchestrated on the PS4. Quite frankly, I mean, how many of us have had a good crash, red flag proportionate, around Monaco on the PS4? Okay, Gomez in 4th place. Have a look at the fender bending going on behind them. The wall and gone.
And that tyres off.
Massive crash for David Baz. And he's going to try and limp it back to the lane. Baz made contact with, I think it was Bevan Moyes. And his night is done. Yep. Oh. Tried to ride over the rear right of Moyes' car with his front left. That was never going to work. David Baz in the wall. And now limping it back to the lane.
Oh, turn it!
Oh, that's... if he can get it back to the lane here without running into any more trouble, it's very skillfully done.
He'll definitely get it back to the lane. The problem is I know that, the car will want to pull direction really rapidly, so he's just got to be very mindful of that. Luckily, it was only the one tyre, and so he's still got the driving ones. That's important. And he'll still be able to make the turns with the front left. So just one more corner for him. And I don't know. I think these guys have a fast repair, so it should be okay.
Very well done, David Baz. I mean, he wouldn't be on. He would not be trying to limp it back to the lane if there wasn't a fast repair waiting for him. But he now has to get through the remaining 21 laps of this race without relying on it again. Guy Leach all over the back of Aiden Luthwaite. The battle for 3rd and 2nd in the car race is on in earnest here. Leach follows Luthwaite through the left-hander. The fast, speed, high-paced Watkins Glen International playing host to round 7 of Spreyton's side up. Wings and slicks, of course, next week, where it's all Canadian. Next week, we've got these guys from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve as well as Spreyton side of Formula V. So everything from the same venue next week. It's rare that happens these days. Greg Heaney in the wall. Greg Heaney done. On the tow rope.
Look at the rear right.
It's crabbing like all buggery.
Yeah,
and he's going to have to limp it back to pit lane.
Well, that's a smart idea. You could cut completely across the course. I wonder if that's...
Yeah, that's exactly what he's done. He's skipped across the racetrack. No, not necessarily, because he's now just jumped on the tow rope. So he didn't get it all the way back to the lane. Maybe iRacing have thrown the book at him and said, no, look, you can't do that. That's a pit lane penalty for you, or a disqualification, one or the other. But in saying that, surely there has to be some sort of common sense. Actually, no, I'm going to stop there, because since when has iRacing and common sense ever gone hand in hand in the same sentence? Barker all over the back of Gomez and also Moyes. And Moyes up around the outside, Gomez to the inside. And Barker with the best seat in the house here, watching these two go at it. Yeah, surely. I mean, it's like, what would the point of penalising anybody that cuts across the top of Mount Panorama instead of going through the S's into the dipper? Cut across that short chute when they've got, you know, an issue with their car. You don't penalise them for that. That's kind of what I'm getting at. If you're hamstrung and you've got to come to pit lane anyway, and you can tell that your car is visibly impacted, and severely wounded, I don't see any issue with going across that part of the racetrack and limping it back to the lane safely. If it keeps the race green and keeps everybody out of trouble, I'm all for it. Parry and Astakis off the road at the moment, and Parry's dropping down to 19th place. 20th now, 21st. I don't like how this is going to go. Oh, he got some help too, just to finish it off. So he was already on the way, but that extra tap just finished the job. Let's have a look at this.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, up on the marbles. Too high. Too high for Parry. Brett Barker, and still with the best seat in the house at the moment. Look at this battle between Bevan Moyes and Mark Gomez. To the end of the back straight, setting it up for the carousel. Gomez down the inside. Will Barker go with him? No, because it appears as though the outside is the place to be at the moment. Bevan Moyes holds on to the outside line. Makes it work in his favour. Now Gomez tries it for the next corner. Knowing full well that we've got a lovely sequence of right, left, right here. So if you're on the outside for one corner, you're on the inside for the next if you can hang tough. It's funny, isn't it? I had a cup of coffee at the start of Formula V, and I'll be bouncing off the ceiling all night as a result. But now that we actually get into this race, I've actually got a chance to lubricate the throat as we go. I don't get a chance to draw breath during Formula V.
No, of course, no, everything's going way too hectic. And unfortunately for Aiden Lutway, that gap at the front is increasing. So obviously it'll have to do slightly with the fact that he's going to defend like a lion, as one Spaniard would say, to Guy Leach, who was absolutely not letting go of the back of that car, and rightly so. Definitely on pace there. Jackson Rehana with a 1:35.9, Aiden Lutway with a 1:36.5. So there is a significant gap in pace there, as it looks like Guy Leach might actually make the move this time by as they go down that back straight.
Have a look at him. Very nicely done. To the inside, Guy Leach will hold on to the right-hander. Lutway settles back into third place. Jackson Rehana, meanwhile, is gone. There he is, bottom of your screen, 2.3 to the good. 1:35.759 for Lutway, fastest lap of the race. Rehana, 1:35.953. They appear to be the only two gentlemen in the 35s at the moment. And as I'm saying that, I mean, 1 minute 35 is, well, 1 minute 36 if you want to round it to the closest number, full number. And 1 minute 36 is seems to be the pace here right now. And in the meantime, there's Cretterton coming unstuck at the carousel. Oh, into the wall. And the front wing is gone. So that's shaving about 5 seconds off a lap, which is shaving a minute off after 12 laps. So that's going to give you 24 laps in 39 minutes. And if you look at 12 fires make 60, that's going to get you back to 38 minutes plus the pit stop transit. So again, I'm still looking at that 25 lap marker. With bugger all overtime, I must say, Daniel Correa, sir. That 25 lap marker plus the pit lane transit as the goalpost target tonight. Now up on the outside, Lutway with the run up through the S's. Lutway puts himself on the outside at the end of the back straight. Gets by Leach. Leach chucks back in, tries to get the slipstream in the draft from Lutway. The youngster, with the weight of the Whiskey Business Racing stable on his shoulders, goes back to second. Injectors Online Racing's Guy Leach is third. Sharp EIT, Tech 1, Bevan Moyes fourth. AHR Media's Brett Barker is fifth. Summit Simsport, however, lead the way. 5 different teams in the top 5 at the moment. The best of the Aussie Racers stable, Adam Lavis in 9th. And Wayne Visser flying the flag for Locked Up Simsports tonight in 11th place. Orbic Australia's Pete Matson down there in 18th at the moment. Adam Burhop's back on the circuit, a lap down. Greg Heaney's a lap down. Crettenden's still on the pit road, and so too Robert Colbreth. I think Robert's going to be parked up for the night. Tim Watson certainly is. Colbreth can't afford to wait too much longer on pit road, because in the 25 lap race you've got to clock 19 to be classified at 75%, and Colbreth's now going to go 5 laps down. So I think Colbreth's night's just about done here. Lutway holding on to second for the moment. Guy Leach sits there in third, and have a look at how much real estate he's using to get the job done and try and keep Leach at bay through turn 1. Pit stops underway. Gomez and Lavis on pit road.
Yeah, Lutway can afford to use that much real estate. The only thing he's got to be careful of is, of course, we're talking about a Formula car here, so there's a crest as you come around that corner. There's a crest in the centre. You'll see it with a dividing line. if you pay close attention, and that will bottom out your car if you do not transfer over it equally. Which is why when you do extend out, you have to make sure that you're doing it in a very smooth fashion. Any sort of jerk on the wheel, it will hit that wooden plank on the bottom of these cars, and yeah, the car could possibly spin. Usually it spins you right ways into the pit lane, so you'll just have to be very mindful of that. But if you do get it right, it's definitely the fastest way around that corner, and he'll need all the time he can get because Jackson Rayhana is putting more and more time ahead of him. Last was a 36.2. Hayden Luthwaite was at 36.1 as Guy Leach goes down the inside. Well done. And they trade places there. So you get the last couple of corners in the track. And yeah, with fighting like this, Rayhana's most likely going to have a pretty easy time at the front. But again, we will wait for pit stops to confirm.
Rayhana leads 3 seconds to the good. Oh, here comes Hayden Luthwaite. An early pit stop for the youngster. On pit road right now, and this is a strategic play that we probably didn't see coming. He's going for the undercut.
Oh, now I just want to point out, you might be wondering, why is Aiden switching between first and second like that? It is because by doing so, you can go slightly over the pit speed limit, and it doesn't trigger a black flag. You have to be very careful with how you do that, but very, very sneaky there from Aiden Luthwaite.
All right, here we go. This is Brett Barker in 4th place, chasing Devon Moyes. Remembering that Luthwaite will effectively slot into either 3rd or 2nd in the car race with Guy Leach once these pit stops are done, all being fair and equal. Spreyton side of Thursday Night Motorsport platforms, the Gentleman Sim Racing Club, Facebook, Twitch and YouTube. Nice to have you along for the ride. I mentioned Ryan Casher and TCR Australia a little bit earlier on. Well, I mentioned TCR Australia at least. Ryan Casher's the Ipswich boy that's doing good things in that category at the moment. He's my special guest Saturday morning on West Bremer Sport. That interview airing just after 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you so wish to tune into West Bremer Sport on Saturday morning and get Ryan's take on the last 7 weeks between rounds, and obviously he's a retrospective look at Phillip Island as well, which was the last time they were on the circuit in the middle of April there. Guy Leach now hits pit road as pit stops continue here. So yes, when I'm not juggling GSRC commitments, I'm juggling West Bremer radio commitments, and yes, Ryan Cash, a special guest Saturday morning. I've been incredibly busy the last week. I've had a couple of people up me for the rent saying, what are you doing posing for photos with politicians? Well, unfortunately, it's part of the job sometimes. I don't normally like to hobnob and whatnot with the pollies, but when distinguished guests are invited to functions that I'm emceeing or that I'm guest speaking at, and there have been 2 of them in the last week, chances are you're going to end up in a photo with the polly. Shane Newman, the federal member for Blair here, recently caught up with him at the Ipswich District Athletics Club presentation day and AGM that was held last Sunday. Big thanks to Vic Pascoe, the president of the Ipswich District Athletic Club, for having me along as the guest speaker this year. Vic asked me to talk for 10 minutes. I think I covered that and then some. I was getting the wind up at the end. I think Vic was worried the day was going to get away from him. Brad Coates there in 11th place, getting passed by Andrew Neal, and also getting by Mark McNamara. I think it was. No. That is lap traffic behind those boys at the moment.
Yeah.
That is Adam Burhop. And now having a look down the inside. Have a look at this. Contact! Coates loops it! And damn lucky not to take Neil with him. Oh my goodness gracious me. Let's hope there's not too much damage on that car and that Coates can continue
Neil's
on.
gone now too.
No, Neil's gone. Jeez. They're dropping like flies at the Glen.
All on his own.
Yep. Well, that's right. He'd already lost. Coates the previous lap. Coates to pit lane, and I think Neil will have to follow. Neil's limping back to pit lane. Very hamstrung indeed. Oh dear. Unlucky for Neil. In fact, Neil's actually continued on. He hasn't gone to pit lane at all. So obviously that's come good for him, but he's opted not to go into pit lane. Will that backfire on him? In the meantime, Bevan Moyes is second under serious pressure from Brett Barker. Barker's been one of the great performers in this series, hasn't he? Been really good to see Brett Barker in his element here. And the other one, of course, and the reason why I wasn't here for the entree on Monday night and Liam Banks was, I got asked to MC the Ipswich Jets Junior Rugby League presentation night. So all the junior grades that support the Queensland Rugby League Host Plus Cup at the North Ipswich Reserve Function Centre, and that was a lot of fun. And I had just enough time left over. They said, oh, we should be done by 7:45. I had everybody up on their feet and heading for the door at 7:15. I said, I'm not waiting around that long. I've got GSRC commitments to get to. Not before a quick splash and dash at Coles to grab a couple of supplies just to get me through to the end of the week. And of course, took over from Liam Banks, a driver swap between supercars and also, of course, the here we go. No further action due to net code. The Brett Coates incident with Andrew Neil on lap 12 ruled as net code. There you go. Yeah, we had a driver change between supercars and GT3 the other night, which was good fun for all and sundry. And thanks again to Banksy for covering for me. So, because I can't be in two places at once, and also thanks to Adam Lavis for facilitating that as well. 21.5 minutes gone. We're past half race distance. We're on lap 14. We've got Jackson Rayhana leading Bevan Moyes, Brett Barker. Top 9 yet to stop. Luthwaite, the best placed of those that have stopped. And he's got Pete Matson and Scott Jordanson behind him who haven't yet stopped. Guy Leach, the next best of those. Two have stopped well behind Luthwaite now, who is down in 11th position and happens to be about 2.5 seconds clear of Guy Leach. Mark Gomez third. As far as those that have completed the pit stop is concerned, Adam Lavis, Brad Coates, Sam Chapman. Now there is one other sport on tonight. Why didn't I bloody well think of this? The French Open's been doing its best impersonation of the Wimbledon Tennis Championships in England this week, with the action hampered and delayed and abandoned in some cases due to ongoing rain in that part of the world. Hopefully we'll have an update for you from Roland Garros very shortly with regards to what's going on there. It's been frustrating for organisers trying to schedule matches around the weather. They've only got, unlike Australia, we're very lucky. We've got 3 stadiums that we can play on in the event of rain. They've only got 2 over there. So it's been a very long couple of days for organisers trying to rearrange the schedule as they go. And of course, Nadal's already gone. A couple of the Aussies already gone. I think Alex de Minaur's okay at the moment. We'll keep an eye on how he fares going into the second week, if he can make it to the second week. We're watching Jackson Rayhana, Bevan Moyes, Brett Barker, then Dawson, Schmidtke, Wilson, Schweikert, Baldwin, McNamara and Luthwaite, the top 10 at the moment. Still the top 9 yet to stop. And I have to say, Daniel Correa, so we can't be too far away from these blokes coming to pit lane, considering that the earliest we saw some of these pit stops was lap 8 in some instances, in terms of those that are still running in the race are concerned. So, I mean, we're almost at the back end of that 16-lap threshold now. If we're going up in instalments of 8, and we think it's going to be 25 laps this race, those last pit stops cannot be too far away.
Yeah, we usually see them, I believe it's around the 25-27 mark in terms of minutes, I should say. You can see Brett Bradbury coming in there. I believe he had a crash earlier, which is why he's transiting down the pit lane there. Rayhana is just well and truly away with it now. 6 seconds between him and Bevan Moyes in P2. And nobody seems to look to catch him. Bevan Moyes did just set his fastest lap, 1:36.064 there. And Brett Barker right on the tail there. So 1, 2 and 3 well and truly separated from everyone else. There's also a fight down there between 12 and 13. That's Gomez and Leach. They've been transiting back and forth. Luthwaite really did have a much better pit stop up into P9. So the undercut works for him pretty well. But the big question will now be, where does Jackson Rayhana end up after his pit stop? Obviously, pitting later means he won't have to do as long in the pit box, which will be of benefit. And one would assume, just based on the distance that he's covered, he'll be able to exit out with absolutely no issue from any threat behind. And yeah, we should see him in the next lap or so.
All right, very nicely done. I had the right gut feeling with regards to Alex Demonaut. He takes on Jamie Munar tonight, Roland Garros, third up on court 6. So that'll be a little bit later on this evening, probably early hours of tomorrow morning. In fact, considering that there's a men's singles second round match on there at the moment that's 2 hours deep, and there's another women's second round match that follows. So the Demon on court 6 tonight at Roland Garros. Currently 9 gems showing the match between Roos and Rybakina, and Rybakina taking the first 6 games to 3, but trailing Love 40 in the opening game of the second set. Greg Heaney's dropped by central commentary, which doesn't bode well considering that there's still 14 minutes left in the race. Parked up for the night, Greg?
Yeah, it's broken.
Oh dear. We saw one particular incident, but talk us through.
Was that the carousel or the boot?
No, we saw the carousel. We didn't see the boot. So talk us through the 2 incidents, please.
Carousel. Yeah, I pushed a little bit too hard on the carousel, and it just didn't grip up on the exit or mid corner, and it's just sent me to the fence. So I broke it there. So used the fast repair that I've got. Yep, cool. And then it was a case of just a touch too much pace coming down the hill into the bottom of the boot, and couldn't pull it up, ran it wide on the exit, and almost plucked the front left tyre completely out of the car. So I think I broke all the steering assembly and everything, and it's like, yeah, no, you're done. It's like, okay, I'll put it away.
Now, we noticed you trying to hop skip across the short chute there, and we thought, I actually applauded that decision. I thought that was rather smart of you, because to be fair, if the car's bent and broken, there's no way it's going anywhere but the back of the garage anyway. But then all of a sudden we saw you on the tow road. iRacing didn't like your short shooting, or was that just you deciding that, yeah, she's actually done it, I need to park it up?
Yeah, that was me making that call. Being that I could, as I've obviously come into the short chute, I could see how many cars were coming through the corner, and I wasn't going to jump in front of them and impede them, being the nice guy that I am. Yeah. I mean, if you're behind me and I'm defending, I'll impede you every day of the week, but I'm damaged. I'm damaged. I'm limping around the track. So like, all right, I'll just get it off the race line. I know I had a gap behind me, but I'll get it completely off the road. And then it was a case of, well, I can see how many cars are in front, so just tow it.
You must be impressed by Aidan Luthwaite's return to form. He's still out there at the moment, best placed of those that have stopped, remembering that the top 7 are yet to stop, mate.
Oh, yeah, he's. I kept tabs on him while I checked whilst I was driving and stuff, like just flicked it over to the leaderboard that we've got in the car and had a look, and it's like, yep, he's. And I said to him, I said, did you take the early stop? And he's like, yeah, I did. So we'll see how it plays out, and this is probably Dan throwing up me going completely off it. There it is. Couldn't stop it. Locked them all up and stuck it into the wall. But yeah, no, it was. Yeah, happy with Aidan back, and Andrew Neal decided to jump in tonight as well, so he's now running one of our liveries as well. He obviously runs with us in the GT3s, so he's decided to throw his hat in the ring for this one too. So
look at this. This is the battle for 16th, ladies and gentlemen. Mark McNamara on the inside of Brad Coates. The battle alive and well. Coates relegated to 17th. McNamara to 16th. Jackson Rayhan at a pit lane now as well at the end of lap 18. So we're in the final 7 laps, I want to say, of this race. We've started lap 19. There's another 6 where that came from by my numbers. And Greg, just getting a comment from you quickly here. Are you surprised at how long some of these guys have gone? And number 2, are you impressed with Joe Baldwin's decision to leave the bus stop out of this configuration of the course, or not?
Oh, look, I don't mind the track either way. Certainly having no bus stop in it makes for some very fast laps around here. So it would certainly make for some very interesting passing manoeuvres and so forth, with the bus stop still being there. But yeah, we'll see how it all plays out.
Stay with me, mate. We're 10 minutes away from the checkered flag. Here is a stay 6 laps at the line by my numbers.
I think Aidan might have run wide there.
he might have done. We'll keep an eye on Jackson Rayhana because he's going to be our guide here with regards to the race clock. As I say, 1 minute 35, 1 minute 36 has been that pace, which shaves 24 to 30 seconds off that threshold of 10 minutes that we're working with here with regards to the clock. But we can go as far as a minute and 30 overtime here. So with Rayhana coming around now, he's going to be back at the line by about the 31-minute mark. And so therefore, yes, 6 laps at the line for Jackson Rayhana as the 2 leaders, the ineffective race leaders, Bevan Moyes and Brett Barker, come to pit lane, and the effective race leader, Jackson Rayhana, will resume the lead, this time by the line. 6 laps to go at the Glen. Going around the grounds, Eels 28 lead Sharks 16. 14 minutes to play, Thursday night football at Combank Stadium, and the Sharks have just gone in, as I've said that. So it's 28-20 with a kick to come and 14 minutes to play. And in the AFL at the moment, of course, we know that 7 Mate are showing that. It is 52-51 in favour of Carlton. 7-10 plays 7-9, Port Adelaide having just booted a major to reduce the margin to 1. Here we're watching Mark Gomez all over the back of Guy Leach to the inside. Gomez to 4th. Gets by Guy Leach to jump into 4th place. There's still 2.6 in arrears of Barker, who's all over the back of Luthwaite like a cheap suit. And Rayhana has come back onto the racetrack in front of everybody to the tune of 4.08 seconds. So he's actually gained advantage and ground on everybody during that round of pit stops. Extraordinary from Jackson Rayhana. He's in some sort of form, Greg. It's going to be hard for Aiden to beat him. Oh, geez, look at that. Brad Coates, monkey see, monkey do. Took Mark McNamara with him there. And unfortunately, Brad Coates came up worse for wear on that one.
Oh, Aiden.
Yeah, that's flirting with the lines of it, isn't it?
So he's pushing. He's really pushing. He wants to try and get this deficit down as much as possible. Jackson Rayhana did a 155.8.
I just don't see that happening. 136.2 last time by for Rayhana. For Luthwaite, it was 136.2.
Look, they're exactly.
They're exactly 136.296 and 136.292 respectively. 152.3 for Barker, but of course he'd come to pit lane. 135.7, the fastest lap of the race for Gomez. He's on it. 135.7 for Gomez. So Greg, going back to you, Rayhana's been impressive in recent weeks. He's in some rare form at the moment. It's going to be hard to catch him.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, Aiden said he was going to jump on tonight, and I see he's concerned. His main concern, obviously, being that he's dropped a couple of weeks and I think he's had maybe 1 or 2 DNFs. Excuse me, sorry. He's like, oh, the championship's probably gone. I was like, well, okay, but look at it this way. Make it hard for him.
Yeah, make him.
I mean, if he's going to win it, sure, he's going to win it, but at least make it hard for him.
I like your thought process there. Make him work for it. And if you happen to trip him up and lure him into a mistake, then, game back on. 40 minutes is where we're headed, ladies and gentlemen. We're 6 minutes away from that marker at the moment. Rayhana's going to come to the line, and we're going to have 4 to go. Andrew Neil in 17th spot at the moment, chasing Brad Coates. Schweikert in behind them. Neil, nothing he can do about Coates at this point. I must admit, we've had an open wheel fix, haven't we, tonight with Wings and Slicks and also Formula V. And I think some of us are still trying to catch our breath from that incredible Indianapolis 500 in the early hours of Monday morning, which was not as early as it would normally be. I mean, it was shades of 2020. If some of you recall, the great people at NBC Sport in 2020 when they had to run the Indianapolis 500 without a crowd, and in August, not May, due to the pandemic, they pushed the start back to 2:45 p.m. Eastern American time instead of the usual 12:45. and that pushed it closer to a 6 o'clock finish track time, which was 8 a.m. here in the east of Australia, which was great for us. Andrew Neil down the inside of Coates to go to 16th now, and job done. The other thing I should say with this is that obviously the circumstances for Monday morning's delay were completely beyond anyone's control. Mother Nature had its say. We'll stick with this battle, Neil and Coates, for the moment. Coates down the outside, Neil down the inside. Neil trying to defend 17th here, or 16th, and it's gone. He's back to 17th now. But thankfully, there's still, 2.5 laps to go to try and sort that battle out. Rayhana to the line with 2 to go this time by. Sorry, 3 to go this time by, my apologies. Getting ahead of myself. 3 to go this time by. 4 minutes and 8 seconds on the clock. That's 3 laps. And maybe 30 seconds of overtime for us here tonight. No, it's going remarkably well. I'm trying to stay across it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm struggling a little bit. But what happened on Monday morning was those of us on the eastern seaboard, as soon as we knew the rain was arriving in Indianapolis, we just, went back to sleep, set the alarm for a little bit later in the morning, got wind of the fact that, the Coates is wide again! Not for the first time at that corner! Gathered it up and held onto it, but not before surrendering 16th to Andrew Neil. Have a look at that. Mark Gomez all over the back of Guy Leach in the battle for 5th, and Brett Barker hovering over Aidan Luthwaite like a cheap suit in the battle for 2nd. It's on here in the closing stages. 2 active battles. So yeah, all of a sudden they're waving the green flag for the Indy 500 at 6:45 a.m. Eastern Australian time on Monday morning. You beauty. 4:45 in the West is even bearable, I mean, we've all been able to get some sleep, get up, put the coffee on, and then sit back and watch one of the all-time great Indy 500s. A little bit over 3 hours of pure magic from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then switch over to the already underway Coke 600 about 10:15 on Monday morning. It was just a day on the couch for motorsport purists, and those of us that didn't have to go to work, we were in absolute heaven on Monday. So we're still riding on the high from all of that, and what we've seen here tonight is continuing that high and dragging it out just a little bit further for us. 2 laps to go for Rayhana. McNamara's off the road, lost 14th to Jordanson and lost 15th to Neil and Coates as well. McNamara drops to 17th. 1:35.691 for Jackson Rayhana, the fastest lap of the race, winding the wick up at the end, doing Matty Dench type things on a Thursday night. Jackson Rayhana pinches the fastest lap, bonus points back out of Mark Gomez's hands. Carlton lead at 3/4 time in the AFL, 8:10.58 to 7:9.51 over Port Adelaide. Brett Barker's all over the back of Aidan Luthwaite here. Andrew Neil's off the road. Oh no, Andrew Neil's off the road. Drops down to 18th. We'll have to find out what happened there. Neil off the road and drops to 18th. White flag will go up this time by for Jackson Rayhana. This is what happened to Neil. All on his own, 2 wide through the 3rd last corner of the lap and into the wall. Unlucky, Greg, because he'd been on such a good charge up until then.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would hazard a guess and say he quite possibly didn't take tyres on his pit stop, though looking at that, he may not have caused too much damage to the car, so he could possibly limp it back through to the end.
White flag in the air for Jackson Rayhana. One more time around at Watkins Glen. Geez, he's in a sweet spot at the moment. 1:35.8 that time around to match the 1:35.6 from the previous lap. The final stages of round 7 of Wings and Slicks Thursday night motorsport for you. Spreyton Cider, open wheel night. Formula V into Super Formula Light, and it's absolutely delivered in a big way. Rayhana the leader, Luthwaite holding off Barker. Have a look at this. Leach has done enough to cover off Gomez. They're clear of Schmidtke, Wilson, Lavis, Baldwin and Chapman the top 10. Chapman the big mover of the night, up 13 spots. Bevan Moyes gets by Wayne Visser for 11th as well. 9 spots gained for Pete Matson in 13th. Scott Jordanson 14th, up 10 spots. The attrition has been high. We'll get back to that in a moment. In fact, Andrew Neil blipped out of view there momentarily, but rejoins in 18th. He's okay. Sam Chapman up on the outside to go to 9th. You beauty! What about from Chapman right around the outside of John Baldwin to go to 9th? Ballsy move on the final lap from Sam Chapman, but at the front, Jackson Rayhana, the championship leader, makes a statement tonight. Withstands the pressure thrown at him by Aiden Luthwaite among others. Sweeps around the last corner, takes the checkered flag, secures yet another round win in Spreyton Cider Super Formula Light. How about that? Second to Luthwaite, third to Barker, fourth to Leach, and fifth to Gomez. Long gap then back to Matt Schmidtke. Paul Wilson will hold off Adam Lavis, I do believe. And Jackson Rayhana in a class above. In a league of his own at the moment. How about that? Chapman in for 9th. Ahead of John Baldwin, Bevan Moyes, Wayne Visser, Peyton Matson, Scott Jordanson, Justin Schweikert. Under pressure from Brad Coates on the way to the line. We'll have a look at how that wraps up for you. And then Mark McNamara, Andrew Neil. Then the long list of retirements. Caleb Dawson was 2 laps down. Brett Bradbury didn't make it to the line, but he remains in the service, so he'll be classified. Adam Burhop won't be. Nor will Stephen Credenen, Greg Heaney, who we've been talking to for a little bit of the second half of the race here. Nor Parry Anastakis, David Baz, Robert Colbreth, or Tim Watson. Whoa, of the 27, only 18 come home. Just goes to show you how hard these cars and this circuit is as a combination, Greg.
Yeah, there's certainly corners that if you don't respect them, they will end you for the day, which I found out.
Exactly. Couldn't have put it better myself. Hey, well done. Great result for Aiden Luthwaite. Looking further afield there, Andrew Neil was the only other player you had in the fight, wasn't he? So that was a little bit disappointing to see him come unstuck towards the end there, but at least he went on with it and still come home.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, first night out, I'm not sure how much he's driven the car. I don't know how much practice he's done, so well done on him to make the end. Unfortunately, obviously, I didn't make it. Mine's going home in the back of the truck, but we'll persevere and move on to next week.
Indeed we will. And what are your thoughts on Circuit Gilles Villeneuve on that note before we let you go as we wait for some of the other drivers to join us, mate? I
love driving on that track. It's certainly going to be interesting. I know it's fun to drive the like GTs and stuff like that, particularly the higher downforce cars like these, any Formula spec car. It's always such a good track to drive. And you've also got to obviously pay attention to the closeness of some of the curbs and the walls, and the Wall of Champions is probably going to get a brush up again, I reckon.
Indeed. And of course we're there in Formula V as well, which will be a tremendous amount of fun. If you are tuning into the AFL, enjoy it on a Thursday night while it lasts, ladies and gentlemen, because next week is the last time we have Thursday night footy in the AFL until the first of the finals in September. In the meantime, we've got Jackson Rayhana standing by to come in and have a chat to us. And Greg, you're more than welcome to stay there with us if you like, mates. In the meantime, Jackson Rayhana. Sorry?
I was just going to jump in and congratulate Jackson on the win. I was hoping Aiden would make it a little bit more difficult for you, but well done, mate. And I will actually leave you boys to chat, and I'll catch you on next time.
All right, mate. No worries. We're getting to that point of the season where patch updates and new season updates are about to drop as well. So we're very excited about that, and also excited to see what happens. He's already gone before I even got a chance to say goodbye to him. Also, of course, we're looking forward to drop rounds being applied to the points matrix here, so that we get a bit of a clearer picture of who's battling who in these championships at the end of tonight as well, no doubt. Adam Lavis will be crunching those numbers even as we speak. Jackson Rayhana, good evening to you. Well done. Cut above yet again, mate. Clinical performance from you. hit your markers, second last lap of the race, you punch out the fastest lap of the night, and you go on with it, mate. Well done. A great performance, and it could be one that secures the title for you.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Yeah, they're the good ones, those ones. It was nice nice to have the pace advantage out in front, and I think, to be honest, a lot of it came down to bit down to the start, because probably had the best launch I've ever had in this thing in my life, and it gave me a nice gap, which I think I mentioned last week. The main worry was at the end of the back straight on the first lap. That was definitely going to be a bit of carnage, and it looked busy behind, but yeah, I was happy to get out of that, and yeah, it really set the race up from there.
Indeed it did. I mean, they're the nice ones, as you say, where you just get the jump and go on with it, and no one was really able to just match you lap for lap on speed. Once you built that little bit of a buffer, mate, it was easy enough to maintain it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and even so, like in that first stint, I knew I was going to go long, so looked after the tyres a little bit. I noticed, I think Bevan Moyes and a couple, like one or two other guys went a lap longer, which surprised me, because yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I came in and I had about half a lap of fuel in the tank, so they might have saved half a lap of fuel there, but yeah, no, I was yeah, it was just basically run as long as I could, throw a new set of tyres at it, depending on the gap that I had. If it was tight, I probably wouldn't have, but you know, again, you build a gap early on in the race, and it affords you the opportunity to, I guess, take less risk and give yourself a bit more options.
Indeed. What about the Watkins Glen circuit without the bus stop? It's rare that we do that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a really fun circuit in these cars. But to be honest, there's really not much time, not much braking here. I think there's only about 3 or 4 corners off the top of my head where you've actually got to touch the brakes. Everywhere else is pretty much just a lift and coast. So yeah, good fun, and yeah, another track. Ironically, as you'll see here, I'm using a bit of runoff there, but that's because it lets you. Track with a bit of runoff, but not too much. So yeah, I'm a fan, and I wish, you know, I'd love to come back to more tracks like this.
Indeed. And just as we go too, by the way, mates, I mean, that was a result that you needed in terms of just giving yourself a little bit of a buffer to play with once these drop rounds come into the equation, because it's no secret to anybody that Aidan Luthwaite's missed a couple of rounds, so the drop rounds benefit him more than they do you in this instance, but a win like that certainly still gives you a buffer to play with in the last 3 rounds of the season, and probably enough that, should you play your cards right and perform as well as you did tonight, should be able to go on with it.
Yeah, let's hope so. I think, yeah, like Detroit, I know it's a track that a couple of guys have actually been practicing quietly during the off-season. It is my favourite track as well, so yeah, that's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be very interesting come the last round. I think just, you know, even if the title's sewn up at the top, the minor placings, as you can see there, very, very tight, so it's going to be an interesting end of the championship.
Indeed it is. And what are your thoughts? I mean, that was the other interesting element of intrigue for us tonight, mate. The fact that there was such a great variance in terms of the strategy play. Aidan pitted early, you pitted late. Did you have any plan of attack for your strategy play coming into this race or not?
I always try to run as long as I can. Like, obviously, I think the reason Aidan might have pitted early is because he was locked in battle with Guy Leach. Like, I noticed, I was watching them very, very closely. Guy got back past Aidan, and Aidan said, all right, I'm going to, you know, pull myself out of the situation and pit early, so he can get some clear air. Because definitely, you know, on his own, he was as quick, if not maybe a little bit quicker than I was tonight. And I definitely noticed that toward the end of the race. I really wasn't bridging the gap too much further, even though I was setting, you know, fastest laps. He was basically going with me lap for lap. So yeah, you know, like again, it comes down to that sort of first lap. I saw he got a bad start, so he got a little bit buried and had to race a little bit in those early laps, which is probably what decided the race there.
Indeed. And next week, Montreal, Canada, circuit Gilles Villeneuve, a circuit that we all love, and it'll be great for these cars.
Yeah, street circuit, love street circuits. Yeah, it's going to be, yeah, it'll be a good one. To be honest, I probably prefer this track a little bit more. I probably hold a little bit higher over Villeneuve, even though it's a street circuit.
Yeah.
But yeah, even then, you've got the world champions. You've got not much runoff and not much room for error. So yeah, it could throw up some carnage.
And I'm glad you mentioned the operative word carnage, because it's the sprint format next week, so an invert top 10 for race 2.
Oh yeah, race 2, the invert top 10 will be very, very spicy come turn 1.
All right, very nicely done. Full time in the NRL, ladies and gentlemen. Eagles too good for Sharks, 34 points to 22, and a much needed win for Parramatta, that, although nothing to write home about, because at the end of the day, there are a few outfits that are hamstrung at this time of the year with State of Origin and the like. Meanwhile, fourth quarter at the Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide now trailing Carlton. Carlton have absolutely hit the ground running in this final quarter. 12-10-82 plays 8-9-57, and it's only about 3 minutes into the final quarter. So the Blues are on a march and have started that final quarter very, very well. It's a long way back into the game if you're a Port Adelaide Power fan at this point. 25 points the margin. No one else has taken the bait to come in and have a chat with us here post-race, Jackson. So you're it, which means we're going to get a very early mark tonight, Daniel Correa-Sar and I. In saying that, though, what else is keeping you busy, mate, apart from work? And what other sim racing have you got going on in the next 7 days before we see you back here from Montreal?
Exciting weekend. We've got the iRacing official Indianapolis 500 returns after a 1-year hiatus, thanks to the beautiful thing that is rights and legalities and such.
Yes.
So yeah, that'll be good. That'll be brilliant. I've been putting in some qualifying runs all week. Another cool thing they've implemented this year is actually the 4-lap average qualifying run.
Yep.
So yeah, they never used to do that. It used to be just basically rock up in the server, do 2 laps, and away you go. But yeah, no, they've implemented the full 4-lap average qualifying run, which is really cool. So yeah, you get as many goes at it as you want. So I've been chipping away at that all week, and I guess tuning the car to my liking, and basically it determines the splits on how fast you are, and not actually on your iRating, which is it's interesting. Again, I've never seen that done before.
I guess they've got to think of some way to reinvent the wheel with the caper. Otherwise, it's just a case of wash, rinse, and repeat, isn't it? Hey, as far as Thursday night motorsport is concerned, I did notice your name very quickly before I let you go. Did notice your name pop up on the entry list for Formula V tonight, but when the lights went out, you were nowhere to be seen. What happened there, please?
VIR is what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, not a huge fan of VIR. But yeah, each to their own. It's I used to love racing V's. I've won a few races in those things, and every now and then, if I'm a little bit bored, I might jump in and see, just poke my nose in, do a few laps. How could
you look at Formula V as an option for only if you're bored? I mean, they're the most fun on the server.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. If I'm a little bit bored, then I'll jump in and liven up my life a little bit with some racecraft, because they're completely different type of racing to these. But I always used to love racing them, and I guess maybe track dependent, you might see me appear in 1 or 2 rounds before the end of the season.
Good, because Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is the entree next week, as well as the main course, or the main course as well as dessert. So, I mean, get in there, race the V, then go and have a crack in the Super Formula on the same circuit. I'm already looking forward to next Thursday night. I think it's going to be the best ticket in town. Well done, mate. We're going to let you go on that note. Congratulations again, a great result.
Thanks, mate. Have a good one. I'll see you guys next week.
Indeed you will, and we are very excited about next week already on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club, because not just will I be here on Thursday night with Spreyton's on Thursday Night Motorsport, but we'll also be able to bring you updates from Women's State of Origin Game 2. New South Wales and Queensland, and of course the men's is Wednesday night, and thankfully Liam Banks hasn't yet phoned in sick, and if he does, my phone won't be getting picked up next Wednesday, just quietly, because State of Origin is on, and it's a great time of the year where you've got sport just about every night of the week. For the next short while, of course, we roll straight out of State of Origin and the French Open into some Socceroo World Cup qualifiers. The Matildas are on tomorrow night and Monday night. Then, of course, we've got Wimbledon not too far away. You've got the Olympics just around the corner. Then the Paralympics. Oh, what a great time to be alive. And, of course, in amongst all of that, before we even hit Paris for the Olympics, there's that little bicycle race that leads us to Paris as well, known as the Tour de France. So if you're a sports fan, more than you can poke a stick at this time of the year, as per usual. And of course, France, the epicenter of the world of sport at the moment, because the French Open rolls into Le Mans, rolls into La Tour, rolls into the Olympics. So, I mean, I should have just upped stumps and relocated to Paris this year, Daniel Correa. So I'm just saying. All right, so we're final thoughts from you, mate, before we rock and roll out of here, and I put a full stop on this a little bit earlier than usual. That was good fun tonight. I mean, it's an abbreviated version of Thursday Night Motorsport, considering that we've had bugger all takers for the post-race show, but 4 good races and 4 worthy winners.
Yeah, no, it was a good night of racing all round. Again, I'm still trying to process the ending to race 3 of the Formula Vs. I did not expect. I expected chaos. I didn't expect that. But and as it all resolved, an excellent win there for Sam Chapman. And so yeah, should be proud of that one. And of course, Aaron Russell for winning race 2, because he started there with the invert grid, and he managed to hold on to it for the rest of it. Oh, it looks like Adam Lavis had an incident there too. I didn't see that during the broadcast there, but he's at a short with the wall. But yes, good racing all round. And yeah, now it's time to sign off, I suppose, and we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah, and just on that note too, ladies and gentlemen, that man on screen, Adam Lavis, he's actually currently hard at work chipping away at the points out of tonight's 2 championship rounds, both Formula V and Super Formula Light. He's working on the Super Formula Light matrix template as we speak, but I'm not flogging a dead horse and keeping you here for the sake of just updating you on that. We'll do that first up next week on the platforms of the GSRC on Thursday Night Motorsport. On that subject, we couldn't do this without the support of the great people scrolling across the top and bottom of your screen at the moment. Waste Options, Spreyton Cider, Orbic Australia, Lobesy Racing, M-Wave Australia, and Flash Graphics. A huge thanks to those people for their continued ongoing support of the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. And we're just about done for the month of May. As the boys have already said, the iRacing, the SimWorld Indianapolis 500s are on this weekend. We'll get to that in a moment. In the meantime, merch.tgsrci.com or gsrcmerch.myshopify.com to sink your teeth into and get your hands on some of the paraphernalia of the club. The shirt's particularly good. I reckon the hoodies are looking good, and I'm petitioning for hoodies, as I said last week. I reckon that's the next step for our merch range. And of course, bottle openers, stubby holders, you name it, we've got it. It's good stuff. Now, race.tgsrci.com as well, as you saw on the bottom of your screen there, for all the other relevant information in relation to the club. And of course, that's where you find out more about it and how to sign up and get involved. In the on-track component of it, which looks like this for the next 7 days, let's have a look at tomorrow night first up. And we can tell you that Joe Baldwin and Nick Fodiatis will be here for you. Off to Silverstone we go for the SRX Superstar Racing Experience, the stock cars. Race 1 will be 15 minutes, race 2 20, race 3 20, full reverse grid for race 2, top 10 invert for race 3, same format as Formula V in terms of the grid structure and the like. That all gets underway for you 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Saturday night, Mountain Men, They take on the Mount Panorama circuit once more in the street stocks this week. And that one gets underway 8:30 Eastern Standard Time with Joe Baldwin looking after that one. And of course, 32 laps of the journey there as per usual. Next Monday night, I'm back in the chair for the entree. It is Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, the venue. Geez, we've got a lot of Canada coming up next week, haven't we? Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, the venue for the 8th round. I can't believe I'm saying that already. The 8th round, the first of 3 in June for the Super 2 and Super 3 supercars. 7:35 Eastern Standard Time. We'll be with you from 7:30. Famed old Motorsport, the venue, 25 minutes the journey. In fact, next week is full of sprint racing, left, right and centre for you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a look on the right-hand side of your screen. It'll be Pro and Am racing out of the GT3 series for waste options for you. Am split first up for race 1 over 16 laps, race 2 over 27 laps for the Pro split with the invert top 10 on the grid, rolling starts and all. Right at land of the venue. That'll be well worth the price of admission, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday night. Roadsy Racing up-and-comers, the Van Ridden Cup as it's now known, from Oran Park first up in the V's. Why aren't we broadcasting that, please? Race 1 over 10 minutes, race 2 over 15, race 3 over 25, full reverse grid for race 2, and then progressive grid for race 3, 7:45 Eastern Standard Time. Then on to Watkins Glen, this very circuit here in the GT1 cars for the Orbit Australia Civil War, and that's from 9:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday night, if you're not watching State of Origin, in fact, if you are watching State of Origin, have these guys on left off screen. It'll be fantastic viewing. Sprint racing the equation there as well. Race 1 for TCR from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course over 15 minutes. Race 2 with the top 10 invert over 25 minutes. Makes up round 8 of the production car challenge from 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Then it's also sprint racing over 11 and 18 laps respectively. Also with the top 10 invert for race 2 for the GT4 challenge from the same venue, 8:45 Eastern Standard Time. Thursday night, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal, Canada, the venue. So it's a very American, North American flavoured week next week, isn't it? It's going to be fantastic. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve first up, Formula V, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, the journey there. We know that already. Full reverse grid for race 2, top 10 invert for race 3, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Then on to a 2-race format round of Wings and Slicks Super Formula Lights for Spreyton side of Thursday Night Motorsport from the same venue. 50 minutes for race 1, 25 for race 2, top 10 invert for that one as well. That's from 8. Actually, that'll be 8. Is it 8:30 or is it 8:45? 8:45 Eastern Standard Time. That's right, because we've got the it's GT3s that are 15 minutes earlier on the Monday night. The reason we go a little bit later is because we've got 3 races with Formula V, so we don't have that carryover time that we do with the supercars, only being 25 minutes. So therefore, 8:45 Eastern Standard Time for the 8th round of Wings and Slicks. So it's an open wheel Thursday from one of the best circuits going, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal, Canada. I'm looking forward to that. Oh, it's been a big week, and it's not over yet. As I say, plenty of real-world motorsport to sink your teeth into this weekend. Super Series, Speed Series, MotoGP, Nürburgring 24-hour, IndyCar, NASCAR, you name it, it's on this weekend. Just not Formula 1 or World Superbikes. They're back in a couple of weeks. So to the World Endurance Championship and Formula E. But everything else just about is on this weekend. It should be a great weekend of motorsport in the real world to complement what's been a good week so far in the sim world. We're not done yet, though. Big photo artist Joe Baldwin back here with you tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, for the stock cars, the SRX stock cars, that is. But for now, we're done on a Thursday night. We're done before 10 o'clock, which is extraordinary. On behalf of Daniel Correa-Sar and all the crew here, I'm Zach Caban. Hope you enjoyed Thursday Night Motorsport for Spreyton Cider as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you on the platforms of the Gentleman's Sim Racing Club. Thanks for hanging in there with us for a cracker of a night. Captivating, compelling, and entertaining and intriguing 4 races. Of course, fireworks in Formula V and some good strategy play in the Super Formula Lights. Have a great weekend, everybody. Get out and support whatever sport you're into going on right around your local region this weekend. Take a brolly with you in some parts of the country, particularly South Australia and Queensland. It's looking like a wet old weekend. Let's hope that it doesn't hamper too much of that local sport that I've already mentioned. And just repeating, the NRL won by Parramatta. The AFL currently in Carlton's control, 17-point leaders over Port Adelaide, but there are still 9 minutes to play there at the Adelaide Oval. That continues on 7, mate. We're done here on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. On behalf of Daniel Correa-Sar and all the crew here, I'm Zach Caban. We'll see you Monday. Joe and Nick will be with you tomorrow night. I hope you can join them for that. It's week 7. Grinds to a halt on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club across Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Until we meet again, bye for now.
Bye.